Hello and welcome to the Select Board meeting for Wednesday, January 20th. We are going still via Zoom and we are being broadcast live on WACA-TV as well as on Facebook. We will do a roll call vote into the meeting. Kinsman?
Here.
Mignani?
Here.
Mitchell?
Here.
And Rob?
Here.
Shearer, sorry. And Stephen, you are showing as a Sue Roby and Greaves
Right.
here.
I am going to change mine right now.
Before we start, I'm just gonna, and I know it, I'm sure at board reports, people will have other comments and statements, but because of how important a day it was today, I'd like to just read something real quick.
No,
Today was Inauguration Day here in the United States, a very historic day. I'd like to first congratulate our 46th president, Joseph Biden. And I feel we can all follow our new president's lead and look to work with unity and moving our country forward. I think there's a lot of positive that was said today that I think we can all embrace and use. And second, a congratulations to Kamala Harris, our first female vice president, a true step forward for the United States. I feel we are taking our first steps in recognizing what other powerful countries have realized before, which is that women in national leadership roles is very beneficial. And other countries have recognized that for decades. Another congratulations to Amanda Gorman for capturing in verse what many of us have felt over the last months and years.
very nice.
So I'd like to take that feeling that we all got from the inauguration today and use that as we conduct our business and share our volunteerism as we work for Ashland.
Very nice.
So thank you all
Well
for being
said, Madam
here.
Chair.
Good job.
Thank
Nice
you.
job.
Thank
Very
you. It was important to recognize that.
Mhm.
I'm now going to open it for citizens participation. And I have Mark DeSoni. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. And good introduction there, Madam Chairman. Thank you for those acknowledgements. Was
Thank
a good inaugural sort of day throughout. I wanted to say that diversity and equality came out today. And no matter what the politics is, no matter what the country is about, the United States showed their true colors with the inauguration and with all of it. Even though it was highly military police secure, it did show the best face of the America that's there. One left in this plane, the other one is now here to stay. And Kamala Harris, first African Asian. And throughout the whole body of federal government, let's hope it comes down to the state, local government that diversity, equality can be said to everybody else involved. Until then, we shall work together. Red, white, and blue, always be blue plus true for Ashland. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Great. Any other citizens? I'm not seeing anyone else who is not here for another appointment. We do have a public hearing coming up at 7:10, but it's only 5 after. So if it's okay with everybody, let's move down to the consent agenda. And on our consent agenda, we have approved the regular session minutes for January 6th, 2021, accept the 2020 dividends program funds in the amount of $8,800 to be used for improving and expanding the recycle initiatives, accept the training grant award from the state in the amount of $15,455.96 to be used for telecommunications, our dispatch personnel, accept the donation in the amount of $250 from Colleen and Richard Hesser for the police department with our thanks, in notification of the town manager's appointment of Justine Grassi as an assistant animal control officer. If I can get a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Great, thank you. Roll call vote, Kinsman,
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
Aye.
Scherer,
Aye.
And Greaves, aye. And the consent agenda passes 5-0. Hopefully you all had the opportunity to look through the whole packet. Thank you, Susan, for getting it completed again and
Oh,
getting it
that's good.
out to us today. A lot of good information to review. Okay, we are supposed to start at 7:10. I'm going to scroll through some paperwork and read the legal notice so that I end at 7:10. There we go. Legal notice, public hearing notice. Notice is hereby given that the select board will conduct a public hearing for a request to change Sunday operating hours for Sunnyside Liquors. The current operating hours on Sunday are from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and they are requesting to change to 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. It is Sunnyside Liquors at 7 Pond Street. The public hearing will be held on Wednesday, January 20th, 2021 using Zoom. Meeting information will be posted on the agenda, which can be found on the town website. The hearing will take place at 7:10 p.m. Persons wishing to be heard on this matter are invited to attend the public hearing by logging into the Zoom meeting. Interested parties who are unable to attend the hearing may submit written comments to the Select Board's office, Town Hall 101 Main Street, Ashland, Mass. 01721, or by emailing Susan Roby at sroby@ashlandmass.com. And that was also put up in the Metro West Daily News. Okay, so I believe we have members here from Sunnyside Liquors. Yes or no? Yes. So is it Richard? Susan, you're muted.
Sorry.
That's
Yes,
okay.
from the Ashland Housing Authority.
Nope. Okay, Richard, not you yet. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
So who is here, Susan, from
Patel is here. Mr. Patel?
Mr. Patel? There you go. Thank you, Stephen. Mr. Patel, if you could unmute yourself and talk to us about what you'd like to do and extend your hours.
Okay, dear. So can you hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So like a Sunday is like a not winter is okay, but summertime is like a too light. And when we try to close the store, so sometime customer inside the store like a less 15 minutes, and we're not able to sell after 8 by the licensing time. So sometimes it's very hard to get out the customer and tell them and getting mad. So we're not going to be open until 10 all the time, but still we want in the license paper. So sometimes like we get like 10 minutes, 15 minutes late. So we like follow the rules by the town licensing. So we don't want to get in trouble. That's why we requesting like anyway from Monday to Saturday, we have like until 10 or 11. So Sunday is not matter to close 8 is not a matter to close 10 is any problem, but still to follow the rules, and we don't want to get in any trouble. So we want to request that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this? And I do have a statement from some neighbors. This is from Catherine Jersick and Janet Platt, who live on Rodman Road. And unfortunately, they weren't able to be here. They said, we wholeheartedly and enthusiastically support the request to change opening hours. The current owner is a great neighbor, and we offer our support to a local small business. So anyone else here in favor? And is there anyone here to speak against or opposed? Okay. And then if there is anything we need from the staff, or are we all set, Susan?
You're all set.
Okay. Any comments from the board regarding this request? Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Patel,
Yes.
thank you for requesting and doing the right thing and coming before us. I guess my question is, how long have you been at Sunnyside Liquors as the proprietor?
It's almost like 3.5 years.
Okay, so 3.5 years you've had an operating hours on a Sunday from 10 to 8 p.m. And
Yes.
I would have thought by now that your customer base would have some sort of idea of when you open and when you close. So I'm not opposed. I have some reservations, but I'm not opposed to going with the flow of the board. But it strikes me rather odd that your customer base should know what your hours of operation are. And if they needed to purchase some sort of refreshments from your location, they would know to do so between the hours of 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. and not go there at 5 minutes to closing and try to rush to do it. That would be my only concern. Because like you said, the hours of operation during the summertime, it's lighter out and there's more activity going on. Wintertime, not a problem. I don't know if we've had any issues over there in the summertime with noises, any noise complaints. I haven't heard of any. I didn't ask, I should have asked prior to. But have there been any incidences during the summer months or the better weather months at your location where people are just hanging around talking and then taking off? Is there any noise issues with respect to that? That would be one of the concerns that I would have.
Go ahead, you can answer, Mr. Patel.
Yes, sir. I like to hear from you. But the thing is, we take it over the store 3.5 years.
Yeah.
We don't have any 911 call from our store from our customer or any neighborhood. Second thing, we never had any violation, underage, cigarette, never got any tickets, nothing. So we take we care for every single thing. It's not open the store and selling blind eyes. We care every single thing. So, and that's why I mention again, we don't want to somebody come still my 8 o'clock timings. When I come on the Monday, check my phone, I see a 4 or 5 missed call after 8 o'clock. So still people we have on the Google times on the Google, closing time on the door. Since long time we have 8 o'clock closing timing. Still people miss call oh, are you guys open? I see 4 or 5 missed call every Monday morning after 8. So still people not aware about the timings, they just need it, they call it. So still we have the state law, we have to close 9:30. Still, if you check the camera after 9:30, people pull in the parking too. So people they know the timing, but they still want to just go and check. So my request is we never had any 911 call in the record in the police department from the customer, from us, or from any neighborhood regarding to any noise or any bad guys around or nothing.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Patel.
Thank you.
Rob,
Chair,
go
I just had a question. I'm curious, if people related to you what kind of work they're doing that they get out late on Sundays? I'm just curious as to.
Yeah, so most of the people sometime some restaurants, supermarkets, they open until late on the weekend. So somebody they after work they just want to stop by. Yeah.
Okay.
And still right now, even the 9:30, people keep calling me, okay, I'm coming 9:35. We say, no, we're not able to sell it to you after 9:30. So please, if you coming in before 9:30, we will do it. But after 9:31, 9:30, we not allowed to sell it any
Oh, so
single
you
things.
are staying
So please
as
don't,
open as
is somebody requesting?
you're
Yeah, go
open
ahead,
as
sir.
late as 9:30 now, even though it's an 8 p.m.
Yes, by the state
different-
law,
Other
all
days,
the,
Rob. Other
yeah.
days, Rob,
Oh,
not
weekdays.
Sundays.
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
days.
we're just
Weekdays,
talking Sundays,
we
right?
have
Yes.
yeah, Sundays, yeah, just one day. Otherwise, regular day, we have on the licensing time, Monday to Thursday, 10 o'clock
Okay.
closing. We have Friday and Saturday, we close at 11.
All right. And I just had a kind of general question, not necessarily for you, but do we know what the Sunday hours are for the other liquor stores in
Yeah,
town?
so I tell you, in our Ashland town, a Chai Liquor has a 9:30 they close, I think. They have 9:30 timings to close. We have another
Sunday.
town, some Holliston store, they close early, but some store in Framingham, they close at 11 on Sunday. So
Well, I was just
Susan?
asking about our others.
Yep.
Our-
Susan, what are some of the other stores in Ashland, liquor stores timing on Sunday?
I did not look that up, so I'd be
That's
guessing.
fine.
if I
No,
told
no,
you.
that's okay. That's okay. Steve, you had a question or a comment?
Actually, Rob asked it already. I just wanted to know how this conformed to our existing license holders. If everybody's open, else is open at 10 o'clock till 10, then why would we really question this very much? So,
Right. Okay. Any other comments or question from the select board? Okay. If I could have a motion to close the public hearing
So moved.
and a second.
Oh, second.
Okay. Kinsman? We're on the
Aye.
approving the motion to close. Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
aye.
Shear,
Aye.
and Greaves, aye. So we have closed the public hearing. Though I saw a couple people come on after I had asked for either positive or negative comments on this. Kitty, I know you live in that neighborhood. Did you want to add to this conversation about this public hearing? If you do, unmute yourself. You need to unmute. Hit the unmute. Or Jen, if we can unmute her. Hold on.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Okay. They've been really great neighbors. We support their application for the extended hours. You know, our next door neighbors in Ashland and in Framingham can't participate this evening, but we're all happy and support his application for the 10 o'clock closing time on Sunday.
Great. Thank you for that, Kitty. There's a few other people who came on afterwards. Is anybody else here to talk about this public hearing and this request to go till 10 o'clock? Not seeing any. Great. Okay. Is there any other deliberation from the board on this? And if not, if I can get a motion to approve the extension of Sunnyside Liquors times from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sundays.
So moved.
And a second. Great.
Second,
Kinsman,
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell,
aye.
Shear,
Aye.
and Greaves, aye. And that passes 5-0. Mr. Patel, thank you for coming forward. Good luck. And
Thank you, thank
there's
you.
going to be people coming at 10:05 most likely, but
Yep. Thank you.
thank you for coming and doing the right thing. We appreciate it.
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Okay.
all the select boards. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you, dear.
Okay. Moving on, I know it's a little bit before, it's just a minute before. We have Candace Avery from the Ashland Housing Authority, as well as members from the Housing Authority to discuss the appointment of Carolyn Beaton. So Candace, if you want to start, and then if Richard wants to join in.
Excellent. So we are super thrilled, and I have to really say thank you to both you, Sue Roby, the town, for helping us to reach out and find Carolyn, because she is a wonderful fit for the Housing Authority. And, she's just, honestly, she's a breath of fresh air. She has insight. She's got, I think, background and foundation, and, clearly will be quick to pick up on Housing Authority and, what we're looking to accomplish together. I think she's fantastic. But I have to really, really say thank you to the town of Ashland for really helping us to be able to find somebody to fill this seat. It wasn't an easy task. I think that sometimes people are apprehensive when they don't really understand a board, and housing is not really very prominent. So it's not something that people just kind of are drawn to or know a lot about. And it was really with a group effort of some really wonderful people. And like I said, just reaching out, putting us on the website, kind of sending out that email blast and saying, is anyone interested, that we found this wonderful fit. And I think it's going to be great for really benefiting the Housing Authority in the way we want to move forward. That being said, I would like to hand it over to Dickie. I think Dickie's on the call right now.
Yes.
I know Carolyn is, and John is as well. And honestly, Yolanda, I really have to say, just what a really and truly fantastic support. I'm so thankful. So thank you very much.
Well, you and your, people that are there do a very important job for the residents of Ashland. So we want to support you as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard or Dickie, is there anything you'd
Yeah,
like to
I'll
share?
just echo everything that Candace just said, and I want to thank the town of Ashland for their support. Unfortunately, we're still down 2 board members, and hopefully that some people that are watching this on TV may think about getting appointed either to the board or come the May elections, that we'll still have 2 open slots, and that hopefully somebody will decide to pull nomination papers and join us, or they can call me or Candace at the Housing Authority and we'll give them any information they need. And I'd also like to welcome Carolyn on board.
Okay. Carolyn, as the nominee, you get to talk a little bit about why you'd like to be doing this. So you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself to people.
Hi, how are you? Why am I doing this? I actually found myself with some extra time on my hands and thought I would want to give back to the community. And this opportunity came up and I was asked to do it. And Catherine, Candace and Richard have been very kind to me. I hope I can live up to the nice words that were said. I know I have a lot to learn, but I look forward to doing it.
Great, great. And before we let the select board do our part of the job, John, was there anything you'd like to add? You're muted. You need to unmute, John. There you go.
We still have vacancies, and there might be another vacancy come March because the governor appointment is up as well. So if people want to help, it's a very rewarding position to be on to help, the housing authority. And I just encourage people to reach out to Select Board if you're interested in helping. It's a good way to give back to your community.
Great.
And we've got a good
John,
team.
can I just ask, are you saying that you're not interested in reappointment, or?
It's not up to me.
I see, but I don't think we would expect a change. Is there any reason we would expect a change, or? Okay.
You never assume, Rob.
All right. I was just wondering if you'd been up to something lately, so I don't know. Yeah.
I'm always up to something, Rob.
Great.
Right. I just had one quick advice before we get on to Carolyn's vote is, there's, I think, some overlap with the Affordable Housing Trust, and I know they've been recruiting pretty successfully. So that may be a source of, there may be some people that may be willing to serve on both committees, because I think there is some useful interrelationship there. And so that's just a thought.
And I'm pretty sure. Hold on, Candace, hold on. I'm pretty sure, Rob, that and Joe can confirm this, as they were vetting for the Affordable Housing Trust, they did notify those people of the need in the Housing Authority. And I just think people either made the decision not to, or
Right.
That's correct, Yolanda.
Sometimes one step at volunteerism is enough, unlike those of us that do a lot. So
right, yeah. And my last thought was I noted that you do have a resident vacancy, correct? And is there any plan?
No, we don't. Actually, the believe it or not, so the state has been trying to fill that resident seat and trying to kind of regain some footing on that tenant legislation. And because there's so much trouble with that, today, actually, believe it or not, online, they were able to put in the waiver for the tenant seat. And if you already have a member who is elected by the town, who is a resident of the housing authority, then you do not have to meet that requirement. And there's a waiver form that you fill out. You have to fill out like the term, the apartment, certification that if they are no longer going to serve on the board, that we would notify the town and the state. So they are acknowledging that they're still having trouble to fill that legislative seat that they put forward. So Dickie actually fills that for the town of Ashland. And with some of the conversation that we had put forward with the Affordable Housing Trust, I ironically today was having some conversation, and again, I have to say thank you for the support of the Affordable Housing Trust, because I was brought in for some of the meetings, and I found that the board was incredibly insightful, very proactive, creative with some of the thoughts for building more affordable elderly housing in town, which is what we would specify to do. And that kind of is where Carolyn also just through family and some of her experience, has some insight as well, because we'd love to kind of continue to research once kind of these COVID things pass, looking into more affordable elderly housing that's close in proximity to where we are. So the Affordable Housing Trust was great in offering ideas and support if we do choose to move that way. So that's just one other aside. And anybody who is considering possibly looking at the Housing Authority, just know that there are some really creative, wonderful things that we're doing for elders in the community. And I think that's, you know, really what we need to put out there. So thank you again.
Great. Okay. Joe, anything to add? And then we're going to move on to our vote.
Yeah, real quick, Madam Chair, thank you. Candace, I know in the past, and I'm sure John remember that in years past, a member of the Affordable Housing Trust was a active member on the Affordable Housing Committee itself, and as a representative to work. Now, I know a few years past that hasn't been the case, and at our last Affordable Housing Trust meeting, that topic was brought up, and there were several people who were interested in, you know, becoming, you know, dual members of, you know, a member of the Affordable Housing Trust representing the trust with the Affordable Housing Committee. And I don't know if that's something you folks have discussed recently, but if you talk to Mr. Greenberg, who's our chair on the Affordable Housing Trust, I know that that conversation was a very proactive and something that several members of the trust were very interested in doing.
Okay.
Yes, would love to continue that. In moving forward, having that dual partnership, I think that's very important.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You are very welcome. If I could get a motion to appoint Carolyn Beaton to the Ashland Housing Authority, please.
So moved.
And a second?
Good.
Great. I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Kinsman,
Aye.
Mignani,
Aye.
Mitchell, Shearer,
Aye.
and Greaves, aye. And that passes 5-0. Carolyn, congratulations and good
Yay.
luck. Richard and Candace, thank you for coming to the meeting. And
Thank you.
we'll let people know that you're looking for more people and see what we can do to help get that filled for you.
Good luck, Carolyn. Good to see you.
Thanks for everything.
Thank
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Bye now.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Aye.
Great. Okay, moving on. We have the introduction of Douglas Scott, our new building commissioner. Michael, you can start us off.
Thank you, Yolanda. So we recently had a departure in the building department. Our building commissioner, Mike Crisafulli, left after several years of service back around the November-December timeframe. Obviously, we know that the building commissioner position is also the zoning enforcement officer here in town and serves a couple of very, very important roles in the development and quality of life issues. So we immediately looked at hiring a really high caliber candidate. We had a number of good resumes received and applications. And after several rounds of interviews, we ended up making an offer to Doug Scott, who has graciously accepted and is here on this call. Doug can probably talk more about his background in a better way than I can. So before I turn it over to him, though, I want to say that we're really excited to have somebody with his experience and his demeanor. And I really think we're going to see a big difference in the building department under his leadership. So, Doug?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you
Evening,
for
Doug.
inviting me to join. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit about myself.
Please do.
I've been in the construction industry for about 42 years. And I've been as a building inspector since 1995. I started in Franklin, working part-time, and then went to Bedford. I worked there. And then I went to Worcester. I worked as a principal building inspector. It was basically a position where I wore a suit and tie every day. I had meetings. I basically came down to, I had to sign it if you wanted to build it. For zoning, building code, for buildings, all of that. That included, that was the time when they were building the medical center complex,
Oh, wow.
the parking garage in downtown Worcester, in a variety. They were going through a building boom, a lot of renovations going on. So it was a very busy time. So I cut my teeth with attorneys back then too, because I dealt with a lot of attorneys. And then after that, I worked on my own as a consultant for a number of years, and sat on the other side of the table. I got my MCPPO certification to oversee public construction. I've did a wastewater treatment plant project, did a Brownsfield project. Let me see, did a DPW, a new DPW project, building project. Did a massive modular expansion for the Wachusett High School just before they did their massive renovation. And then I went and worked for a friend of mine. I started up a division in his company doing public construction. That's all we did. So I sat on the other side of the table. I did with my expertise as an MCPPO certification. We did a lot of historical restoration work. I won an award from the Attorney General's office for the work we did on a project at a museum in Holyoke. And then I went back to working as a building official. I worked for the city of Marlborough. I was hired to work and straighten out their department. If you're familiar with the Apex project on Route 20, that was one of the projects that I shepherded through. That was a $200 million multi-use, multi-building project that had to be completed in 12 months due to the funding of the developer. So I managed to work that, and at the same time we had I had a staff of about 8 people, so everybody was extremely busy, juggling a lot, along with all the zoning and working with the mayor's office and the city councilors and all that. And then I was asked if I would go to work on the casino project as a building inspector in Boston. And it's a 3 million square foot, $2.6 billion project that we did approximately 6,000 inspections on. So I know that place. I still have nightmares about it. And then from there, I went when that was completed. Then I went to work at. Was asked if I would take a job at UMass Amherst, work in their design and construction management division, and which oversees all the construction on campus. And my forte was I worked and met with the state building inspectors and the state inspectors that came in, the plumbing, the electrical, the mechanical, all those people. And I also represented and coordinated projects on behalf of the various different schools that are within the UMass Amherst campus. And because of COVID, that ended, and I saw the ad in Ashland. I like Ashland, that area. It's a perfect size town for me. Very nice people. You have a great city hall. I want to say that everybody has been warm and friendly, and that's why. And I'm here.
Awesome.
Has he signed his contract? Has he signed the
I
contract?
think they're waiting for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So I'm going to open it up to the board, but Doug, I have a question. I mean, you've moved around a lot for a while, so you sort of answered it that you like Ashland. What what do you think, or what challenge are you looking or hoping to do while you're here in Ashland? Or, you know, what are you hoping to get out of working here in little old Ashland?
I'm not looking for a challenge.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'm not seriously. I've had challenges. You know, I get calls from, hey, we got a problem. You know, I've got a building department in my town that I need help with. You know, I'm at an age where I don't need it. We just had our first grandson born. And so I don't need headaches.
Okay.
No, I'm looking forward to working with Peter and Michael. You know, I think that I think it'll be a good relationship. There seems to be a lot of excitement. You're busy. It sounds like you've got a number of things coming up on the books, and you know, I like being busy. I'm a type A personality. I don't like to sit around, and I think that we could do some great things. You know, every community needs to. You know, every community needs to think to the future, and you know, and that's the hardest part for every community's citizenship.
Yeah.
And but if you don't think of the future, especially where you're situated, I mean, you're situated right in a perfect location. So, you know, if you're not thinking about, you know, this is knocking on the door, or this seems to be an issue, has been an issue for the last couple of years. What can we do? How can we deal with this? You know, give us a fresh idea. You know, those types of things. That's
great. I saw some other hands. Steve, why don't you start us?
First of all, welcome, Doug.
Thank you.
To little old Ashland, as we say. A very impressive resume. I have a question. Well, first of all, where do you live?
I live in Worcester.
Worcester. Okay.
I'm about 30 minutes from you guys.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I have a question. If the town is successful in funding 2 new municipal buildings, would the inspection services be done internally, or would that be something that's typically subbed out?
No, we do. So there's well, let me take a step back. There's any number of ways that can be handled. More than likely, it would be done internally, unless at the same time there was a big private construction presence going on. And then by state law, under the building code, I could go out and get somebody to work under me just for those particular projects, and have you know, that could be done. That could be done. So with public projects, and I'm sure you've all, or many of you may have been involved in at least one public project. You know, typically you're going to get go out and get an OPM, owner's project manager, and they're going to have a clerk of the works. That's what I used to do. I was hired directly by the town. So you have several options.
Yeah.
You can hire somebody yourself, and they become a special, what is it? You're a special, and your board votes on that to accept them as a special agent. You know, they work directly for the town, and I've always found that that's a great way to do it, because you know, you get the best when you do that, because you're paying their paycheck.
Yeah.
They're not getting paid by a company that you're paying.
I appreciate the answer. Our first step is we have to pass the funding.
Yeah. Yes, I would imagine.
Good. Thank you.
I just had, oh,
Thank
I'm
you,
sorry.
Doug. Thank you, and
Okay,
welcome.
anything else? Brandy and then Rob. Brandy?
So First of all, welcome to Ashland, Doug. We're
Thank you.
excited to have you. As you may or may not know, Ashland is going through a net zero initiative. And so I was curious, I looked briefly on your resume, but just curious as to sort of sustainable building, what experience you might have. And as Steve alluded to, we got these new projects, and net zero and sustainability are something that's kind of in our top of mind. So I was curious about that.
So there's a variety of ways to reach that net zero plateau that you want to reach. And it typically comes down to the construction, hiring the right people that understand how to build. I was involved in the Energy Crafted Home program back in 1996 when it first came out, for like single family homes. When I've been involved in commercial buildings, that's always been a hot topic. There are a variety of different ways to get there. And I guess it's a matter of, you need to make sure that the designers have the expertise or will hire the expertise and are willing to have good communication with you about that and go and have a back and forth dialogue. Because a lot of times, these people, they come in and they have a set idea, and it's very difficult to try to get them to change their mind. So I've got a 2-inch thick binder of certifications for all of the courses and classes and on energy efficient construction. So I'm big on energy efficient construction. My wife and I sold our I have 2 grown daughters. We sold our bigger house, downsized to Worcester, and really bought the house because of our dog. Believe that or not, I don't know what we were thinking at the time, but I'm retrofitting it as if it were a commercial building, using the net zero desire. And my neighbors all look at me like, what? I've never seen anybody do that. I'm going to do that on my house. It's like, so I'm very much into energy efficiency. It would be great, but you do have to really do a lot of homework with it, in vetting people to do it correctly for you.
So thank you. I appreciate it.
Doug,
No problem.
I have a feeling that we could sit here for another 15 or 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I look forward to all of us coming in and getting to know you. I know I have a couple of other questions, but unfortunately, we do have a full agenda and going to try and move on. So I would say, members, if you have other questions or just want to get to know Doug, go ahead and reach out. And Doug, welcome to Ashland. Mike and Jen, nice job on this hire.
I do want to add that I've always had an open door policy. I don't want to step on Mike. I don't know Mike that well, but I've always said, come, if the select board, councilors, whoever, you come to see me. I'm usually there. I eat lunch usually at my desk so I can check my emails and stuff. And you don't need to make an appointment unless you want to. But I encourage people. I encourage you to come to see me, whether you want to see me about something good or something bad.
Very good. Are we taking a vote tonight, or?
It's not our vote. It's not our vote. This was just an introduction to us and to the community.
You can take a vote if you want.
Of the hire that was done. So Doug, welcome again to Ashland. Thank you for spending some time with us tonight, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to meeting you all in person someday.
Same here, Scott.
Great. Have a great night.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on. We have a 7:45 joint appointment with our Board of Health to appoint a new member, either Ann Carey or Barbara. Barbara, I'm gonna skip your middle name and use Simon.
There you go.
I will work on it, but So Diane, I'm going to let you call your meeting to order because we have to let you do that first.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:45 p.m. of the Board of Health.
Okay, great.
Is Chris coming in, Diane?
I'm not sure if he's going to be running late or not.
Okay.
You have quorum?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, you have quorum, so you can go ahead.
Ron
So-
is on myself, yeah.
So
Ron, you're muted, Ron.
Diane, I'm gonna let you start this, introduce the two candidates. My understanding is we're appointing one of the two candidates. So why don't you go ahead and take us through the introduction of both of them, and then we'll open it up to both boards for any questions, and then a discussion and a vote.
All right, Yolanda, I hate to do this to you, but I'm going to put it back at you, and I apologize.
Not
I'm
a problem.
I'm a little bit under the weather, so I apologize.
Not a problem. Great. Then I will take it back.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. So Ann and Barbara, first of all, welcome and thank you for stepping up. I'm going to ask, we'll start with Barbara because you're unmuted. So we'll start with that. Go ahead and give us an introduction about yourself. We have seen your talent bank forms. But just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in stepping up to be appointed to this Board of Health seat. And I know you've done this before at our last meeting when we didn't take a vote, but I'm going to let you do it again in case there's other people watching.
Okay. All right. So I'm Barbara Sekesugundu Simon, and I've been in Ashland for 2 years now. So as I was just trying to see how I can get myself involved in the community, I found that, Board of Health, they had a position available. And before that, I did go to a couple of their meetings, and I found myself like learning a lot. I had a lot of things that they were talking about is stuff that I was interested in, stuff that I had a passion on. And being a nurse, I feel like some of the things they just come up without, me like trying to think more. And so I said, let me go and apply to be a member of the group and take it from there.
Okay. Anne, same question for you. What has made you decide to step up and try to be a member of the Board of Health?
Sure, thank you. So my name is Ann Carey. I've been in Ashland for just about 30 years now and a nurse for quite a while as well. And I've been wanting to give back to the community. I finally feel like I have the time on my hands. I just graduated in December with my doctorate in nursing. So
congratulations.
Thank you very much. For the past 4 years, I consumed a boatload of time, so I just couldn't focus on it. I currently manage a floor in an organization where we were a COVID floor for quite some time. So I feel that knowledge and expertise would help the town get through this pandemic. And just my knowledge of healthcare and nursing, I think would be of value to the committee as well.
Okay, great. Great. Two very, very strong candidates. I'm going to open it up to the select board for questions of these candidates before we then open it to the Board of Health for questions. Anybody have a question? Sorry, Brandy, go ahead and start.
Well, first of all, thank you both for stepping up and wanting to serve. This is, having two qualified candidates for a position is really, really beneficial to our town, which is great. And I know Barbara had said she had gone to a couple of Board of Health meetings. Have you been to meetings as well?
I haven't been recently. In past years, I would intermittently go or watch online. But I hadn't recently with school. I just truly had no time.
Okay. And the only other question I had is, I think if I remember correctly from our last meeting, this position would need to be, somebody would need to run for election for this upcoming May. So, so I know that the Board of Health is looking to fill this position before May. And obviously you don't need to, neither one of you has to commit at this time, but it is, I'm thinking about it in sort of the long term, if this was something that you were thinking more as a trial to see whether you were going to run in May, or if you had thought that perhaps, this would be something that you would automatically think to want to run for in May. So, if that makes sense.
So go ahead.
Barbara, why don't you start answering first?
Okay, so for myself, I feel like I was looking at this as an opportunity for me to even get to know more in depth about what the committee does, more hands-on, but I feel like I will probably still want to run in May, because from what I've looked at and looking back, I've looked at some of the, the minutes from the last meetings, and I feel like it is something that I'm really interested in working with.
Okay. And Anne?
The same here. My goal is to be on it longer term than just a few months, to stay on it for at least the next few years if possible.
Okay, great.
Thank you both.
Other members of the board, questions of the select board? Steve, Rob, or Joe? Joe, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Barbara and Ann. Great resumes. Gone over them several times, and you're both very qualified candidates to be members of the current board. I understand that you've been to several meetings, and I know there's Zoom meetings, and you really can't get close and personal with your other board members to be. And some of the issues that they're addressing, what would you consider to be some of the most important issues that are facing the town besides the COVID pandemic? Of course, that's high on the list for everybody. But what would be second or third issues that the town would need to address sooner than later? I'd be kind of interested in hearing your responses to that.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
One of the meetings I went, and I think we were talking more about like we're talking about selling cigarettes to the minors. And being a parent, I feel like it keeps out what the Board of Health is doing is very important in keeping our community safe, not just for the adults, but also for the minors. And of course, being a mother of two boys, I feel like it will be safe for my boys if they go out and not being able to get misled because of some of the things the Board of Health is doing to keep our community safe for everybody. And even just overseeing like what's going on with this pandemic with COVID and keeping on top of everything around us. I feel like those are currently, I think, my main issues that I've noticed.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. It's hard not to think of this COVID pandemic where it is in every single headline we read. So I do think, as far as next steps, as I said, I haven't been to many meetings over the past year, but my hope would be with the pandemic to think about school. I did read the notes with Ed Berman working with the schools and such, and how we're gonna get the vaccinations out perhaps in Ashland or at the local level, how that's all gonna work immediately.
Thank you. Madam Chair, just one quick thought. Ashland has been known to have a black flag flying over its flagstaff for many, many years, and I'm referring to the hazardous waste site, which is known as Nyanza. we need to keep vigilant on that. And I would assume that you folks would be continuing the due diligence of making sure that the EPA continues their study and doing the things that they promised they would continue doing. Would that be a fair assessment from both of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Any other select board questions? Rob, go ahead.
Sure.
Just remember, we also want to allow the board,
Sure.
Board of Health to ask questions.
Just quickly. Hi, Ann, and hi, Barbara. It's good to see you folks. You know, I did want to second that. Thanks for stepping forward with this very impressive credentials, and congratulations on getting your doctorate in nursing.
Thank you.
I did want to just, and you did kind of bring up the COVID response. So I just kind of wanted to briefly get your thoughts on the town's role in the coming months regarding that. And, you know, I was interested to hear in that you have some specific COVID experience recently. So if both of you just briefly, just maybe touch on that. I realize it's a huge topic. So, but if you give us an idea how you would approach it in the coming months and what we're going to be tasked to do.
Whoever wants to go first.
I can start. I do think the COVID vaccination, it's important to be brought to the local level. If we rely on the state, it's just going to be too big. So to get the Ashland residents vaccinated, I think it's somehow or another, we're going to have to get the vaccine in Ashland. You have to think of the refrigeration and then getting it, the shot into the people. And remember, you have to schedule it depending what brand you get, whether it's Pfizer, Moderna. It's 21 days and 28 days. So you really have to ensure that the person getting the vaccine is available 3 to 4 weeks later. It's going to be a monumental task, no doubt about it.
Okay.
Barbara?
Okay, so I was thinking, yes, it is a priority. We have to bring the vaccine to the community. I mean, I already got mine, so hopefully we'll see how that works. But I feel like we have an advantage of having, we have like CVS and Walgreens who's helping with the vaccines. That way we may make sure we're maintaining the right temperatures and they're giving the dose correctly. I mean, of course, with the help of the Board of Health and the nurses around, but I feel like my plan is also to, like what I've seen going on in other towns, because I work in Norwood, and they're talking to like Karen, like say if there's a nursing home close by, when they have Walgreens going in, because what I've noticed has been happening is they're bringing a lot of the vaccines, and if they don't get used, they're throwing them away, which is a waste, whereas it could go to people who need it. So if we were to partner with some areas around locally, and I feel like maybe that might help us get to the vaccine a little faster than trying to just get it just for you know, people in the community, since we're heading more, they're starting with, you know, like people in the nursing homes or in the assisted livings. So that was just my thought.
Good. Board of Health members, any questions that you would like to ask of these two candidates? Diane,
no.
why don't you
Well, again, I just want to apologize. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm very thrilled that we had two candidates step up, and both of them are highly qualified, obviously. I've spoken to them directly, asked them questions, so I don't have any questions, but I just want to plug our Medical Reserve Corps, because whoever doesn't get appointed in the interim, we'd love to have more Medical Reserve Corps members, as well as anybody else here that's on the meeting, volunteers to help with the things that we're talking about tonight. So thank you very much for taking the time.
I per se no questions, but I know that we are in a very tough situation between two candidates. So either one of you who gets selected and the other one still can serve the community as a volunteer as well as look forward for openings. There are going to be 3 positions, one for a short 1-year period and the 2 other positions of 3-year period that's going to come up because my term is ending and Chris's term is ending too. So there are openings through elections. So that may be another opportunity to fill yourself into the seat.
That's good. That's good. A good point, KG. Thank you. Ron, anything?
Yeah, I appreciate, the interest and the commitment of both of you to run. Both your resumes are terrific. I was actually going to mention exactly what KG said, and just to reiterate that. And, I was in your position over 4 years ago. And
I remember that.
I didn't really know how to answer these questions either. It's tough. It takes a little while to feel comfortable, but I know you're both bright, and I think either one of you, or hopefully both, at some point in the future will be able to add to it. It's always nice to get new people in that are competent and well trained and well versed, and really just want to show up and help. That's really all that it is, to me. So, thank you both. And the select board asked every question I would have asked anyway, so no reason to repeat.
Good. So I'm gonna, if my board's okay with this, I'm gonna let the Board of Health, if they have a recommendation between these 2 candidates that they would like to appoint, I'm gonna start there, I think.
I was gonna say, if I can just ask a formality, just because I haven't done this before. So if one of us nominate one of the members, is it a collective vote or is it our board and your board?
It's collective. So the 8 of us will vote to, determine if whoever gets nominated is appointed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do any of the board members have a recommendation?
I have. I know that we have a difficult situation between 2, and then we can't split this seat into 2 positions and have one to come on one meeting, the other one to the other meeting. A very difficult job. But I'll take a chance and then make the decision, assuming that will fruitfully help everybody and the community for the short term as well as in the long term. I would recommend Barbara as the choice from my side. If I can nominate her for that position, I'll appreciate it.
Okay. Would anyone like to second that nomination?
I'll second it.
Okay. So we have Barbara with a motion and a nomination to be appointed to fill the seat until the election on the Board of Health. Any discussion from anybody?
Madam Chair, will we be entertaining other nominations, or we're going to vote on this one? And how would that
Well,
work?
so here's how it'll work, right? Barbara has been nominated. So we as the 8 of us will vote yes or no if we support that nomination. If enough people don't support it, then we'd have to do a second nomination for Anne.
Okay.
And Anne, you are in a tough position, and I feel you, but know this, as KG has said, there are going to be seats in the spring on the ballot. You have made a brave first step. Doing here like this is a little bit harder than when we do it live in a select board meeting. But just know that we really appreciate you stepping up. And as KG has said,
we still have to vote.
We still have to vote, and two, there are going to be seats available. You can always run, and just because if whatever happens tonight, you can always run, and this goes for both of you.
Yeah,
and I recommend that you run. So.
Yeah, if I may add one more sentence, that nominating one person now here doesn't mean the other one is not qualified. It's very much qualified.
Correct.
You have come up with a resume here that it put us in a very difficult situation because we are forced to choose one because there's only one vacancy.
Right.
Unfortunately, we have to do our job with that. Not that we don't like you or the
Oh,
other
no,
one we like.
yeah.
So it's we
Okay.
like you all very much.
Madam Chair, I just clarify though, if you prefer Ann, then you would vote no on this. So.
Correct. If you prefer Ann, you would vote no on Barbara. And again, this is, we're basing this on their qualifications and who you think is gonna, anyway. So we have a motion and a second for Barbara to be appointed as the interim Board of Health member. Any further discussion? No. Okay. Diane, if you want, I'll just take a roll call vote of both, and I will keep track of yeses and nos.
Okay.
I'll start with the Board of Health. Diane?
Aye.
Ron?
I'm going to vote no.
Okay. KG?
Yes.
Kinsman?
Aye.
Mignani? Joe?
Is unmuted. You need to unmute.
You're muted, Joe.
Madam Chair, sorry about that.
That's okay. Are you voting yes or no on Barbara?
Well, yeah, I know Barbara. I don't know Ann that well, so I will vote yes.
Okay. Mitchell?
Yes.
Shear?
No.
Oh, this is tough.
Well, it has to be unanimous, right?
No, well, no, I mean, it has to be, the majority has to vote. I'm going to vote yes. So that passes 6-0 for Barbara to be appointed. Any other discussion?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. 6-0?
I'm sorry, 6-2. Sorry,
Yeah, okay.
6-2. So 6 people voted to approve Barbara. 2 people voted to not approve Barbara in the appointed position. I think if we do a reverse, it would probably be 2-6 the other way. So Barbara, congratulations. You will be the interim member of the Board of Health until the election. Either way, Barbara, you will have to pull papers to stay on the board past May.
Okay.
So this is just until the May election.
The papers must be out soon anyway,
I
right?
believe February 1st,
Right.
papers should be available for the open seats.
Right.
So,
And if you guys need help in getting signatures, let us know. We'll help you
yeah,
out.
we will all help. So,
Okay. Thank you
Okay.
so much, everyone.
thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Ann.
And again, keep volunteering and keep stepping out and being willing to do things in town.
Thank you for the Board of
Thank
Selectmen.
you.
Yeah, thank you both.
Diane, I'll let you close out your meeting.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
8:08 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Great, you're
Thank you.
welcome. Feel better, Diane.
Select
Thank
board.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, hope you feel better tonight.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Joe.
does Barbara need to get sworn in?
She does need to get
Okay,
sworn
I just
in.
wanted to make sure she knew that.
Yeah, before the next Board of Health meeting, Barbara, reach out to the town clerk's office to make an appointment to get yourself sworn in.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a
You're
good night.
welcome. Have a good night.
Night.
See you
Congratulations.
tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
Okay, Zoning Board of Appeal, this should be a much faster process. John Trefethan is here to talk us through this. We have a member who'd like to be moved down to an associate member and another member who'd like to be moved up to a full member. John, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you know, my name is John Trefethan. I'm the chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have 3 members on the board, each named or appointed to a 3-year staggered term. Stuart Siegel was appointed last August, or was reappointed. He's been a long time member of the CBA, but he asked to only be reappointed for a 1-year term, which is due to expire on August 31st of this year. Recently, Stu approached me and indicated that he would like to step down from his position as a member and become an associate member. When in recent years, when the ZBA has had an opening, the Select Board has appointed the senior associate member to become a member. Our senior associate member is Nathan Band. I took the liberty of speaking with Nathan to see if he would be willing to become a member if the select board deemed him fit to be appointed, and he indicated he would be. He was hoping to be able to be present tonight, but unfortunately he was called to duty with the National Guard and deployed to our nation's capital to help with today's inauguration. Nathan is an attorney, has been active on the board as an associate member. This is now his second year. And to me, he would be a very suitable and appropriate appointment. If the board sees fit, I would ask that Stuart Siegel be appointed as an associate member with a term to expire on August 31st of 2021, and that Nathan Band be appointed as a member with a term to expire on August 31st of 2023, in order that we can resume the staggered terms of the 3 members.
Okay. Seeing as we've done a vetting of both of these members and we have a big thing coming up, if there's no questions or comments or concerns from the select board, I would accept a motion to appoint Nathan Bond as a full member of the ZBA with a term expiring on 8/31/2023, and Stuart Siegel as an associate member with a term expiring 8/31/2021.
So moved.
Thank you. If I can get a second.
Second.
Great. I have a motion and a second. Kinsman,
Aye.
Mitchell, Mignani, Mitchell,
Aye.
and Shearer,
Aye.
and Greaves, aye. I saw his mouth go.
Sorry about that.
Say it again, Joe.
I'm sorry about that, but I said aye.
I thought so. And that passes 5-0. John, thank you for coming and presenting that. And we have now switched those 2 members. So keep going.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to Nathan for representing Ashland and Massachusetts down in DC for the inauguration.
I'm sure it is a great honor for him, and I will pass that along.
Great. Thank you
Thank
very much. Okay, moving right along, a little bit late. I apologize for those of you who are here for this presentation. You know, you plan these agendas and you think, oh, that's going to take a certain amount of time, and then things just take a little bit more. Michael, I'm going to let you lead us into this presentation of the Ashland Mills, which is the project at 10 to 50 Main Street.
Okay, thanks, Yolanda. As the board knows, Rich Gordon, who's the owner of 10 to 50 Main Street, approached the town last year about the possibility of redeveloping that parcel and bringing a mixed-use facility with residential and commercial.
Mike, real quick. Do we need to call? Since
I was gonna introduce you to open up.
Okay, I didn't know if we had to start our meeting yet. Okay, I was just making sure.
Okay. So at that point in time, the board had, after the initial presentation, which was around 270 units and I think about 20,000 square feet of commercial space, the board had some concerns with that, the ratio, the size, and the massing of the project, and had asked Rich to come back with a more scaled down plan. And they have started that process. We're at the point tonight where they're coming here to present to both the select board and now the planning board these revisions to their project, and show that what they have done to try to accommodate the board's concerns. So, but again, we did ask the planning board to be a part of this because they are going to be an integral part of the process. So with that said, Dale, do you want to open up now?
Yeah, so I'll call the planning board meeting to order. It looks like we have at least a quorum. Everybody's here.
And so that being said, Rich, how would you like to proceed? Hopefully unmuted.
How's that? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'd just like to thank the boards for taking the time and getting us on the agenda tonight. I'm going to turn it over in just a second to Joe Antonellis. He has a presentation for us, but as Mike said, we are basically coming back with more refined plans and hopefully meeting all of the requirements and suggestions that were laid out by the board at the previous meetings. So thank you for your time, and I'm going to just hand this right over to my attorney, Joe Antonellis.
Good evening, everyone. Joe Antonellis. And I think I'm getting a little reverberation here.
Yeah, a lot of feedback.
All right, I'm on an iPad.
Do you have earbuds or something?
I don't have earbuds.
Okay.
Maybe I should put them.
If you have kind of earbuds or something like that, it would help.
Is that better?
Much better. Thank you.
Okay. Wow. That's great. Thank you. That's the first time that's happened to me, and I do a lot of these using this device. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the time. This is an exciting project for our development team that consists of obviously Rich Gordon as the owner. We have Gorman Richardson, Lewis as our architects, Scott Richardson, who I think is well known to the community, has been the lead architect on the project. George Connors from Cornerstone Engineering is going to be handling the site development aspects, the civil engineering aspects. And also with us is Craig Seymour from RKG Associates, who has done the detailed financial analysis on the benefits of a 40R project. I'm not going to speak very long. I think they're more capable of providing the information to the boards, the collective boards that is necessary. I will tell you that over the last 3 or 4 months, I have spent considerable time studying as many 40R bylaws that are in existence in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as I could get my hands on. And what I've tried to do during that interim period of time while the architects and engineers have been working on refining the plans is to get at least the outline of a 40R bylaw that we could soon present to the planning board, to your town planner, to Michael, for purposes of their review. I've tried to tailor make it for our particular project, obviously, but I used the guidance of other communities who have adopted 40R projects, especially 40R projects that are used for revitalization of downtown districts. Obviously, Ashland's unique situation with its downtown, with its proximity to the rail, the historic aspects of the building downtown. What the development team has tried to do is incorporate all of the downtown revitalization concepts into our 8-acre parcel. I think we've done a fairly good job of it. I think we listened closely to the comments that have been made. I would be remiss if I didn't tell this board, your board, that Mike Hebert and Beth Reynolds and Peter Matchik have been absolutely wonderful to deal with. They've been responsive to our requests. They've been involved in helping us get to a point where I think we've got a bylaw with the balance between residential and commercial space that will probably be beneficial, most beneficial to the town. Rich has done a really good job of keeping his tenants informed about what's going on. He's trying to make certain that all of his tenants realize that while they may be displaced for a period of time during reconstruction of the buildings, that they will be welcomed back as tenants, and at the same time, hopefully to be able to attract more commercial users to the downtown area. So just as a summary, I think where we are now after our initial presentation, we are now planning on a 200 residential apartment complex with 34,000 square feet of commercial space in a mixed use combination in multiple buildings with on-site parking. We believe we're going to have adequate parking, not just for all of the residences, with a good ratios that are similar to other apartment complexes in the area. And then also we tried to calculate the commercial space based on your present bylaws. And we hope to actually maybe have a little space left over for some shared community parking. Rich has also been insistent that we include some public amenities in the back of the building and open up a river walk behind the building to really enhance the downtown area and make it accessible for people who are downtown to be able to walk in that area. So with that, I'm going to stop and let probably Scott, who can screen share with somebody, put some plans up so you can get an idea how we have reduced the size of the buildings and tried to make, as we were told, to reduce the mass in the downtown area. I think, again, we've been responsive to that, and we're hopeful that both boards will find this proposal to be something that you can support at the rest of the process, which will obviously involve the adoption of a zoning district in the downtown. So with that, I'll stop. Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the time.
Hello, Scott Richardson with Gorman Richardson Lewis Architects.
Okay.
So Sue, are you going to share, or can you enable me to share my screen?
Sue or Jen, if you could let Scott be a sharer.
Okay, thank you. So everybody see the site plan that's up there now?
Yes.
Okay. Again, for those who are new to seeing these drawings, we have, again, kind of number, which is actually the first building we're calling number 10. As most people know, it's actually 10-20, and the second building is number 30, but we have numbered each of them 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Basically, 10 and 20 are essentially the same footprint that exists now, and they will be redeveloped in that location. The subsequent buildings are less historic, and obviously building 50 is the old or the current brick building there, and those are planned to be demolished. What we're proposing is essentially along the street front that is currently there now. We will be proposing all retail and commercial reuse of existing as well as all the new construction. And then number 50 is proposed to be all retail / commercial on the first floor. What we've done is we've created an entrance between 40 and 50 that enters at street level and provides a parking deck, if you will, to provide parking around most of the building, and then has access down to the lower level. Everybody's familiar with the driveway that goes down and up from the lower level of 50. We are basically going to be reconstructing that, having it much more gradual, and also just have it one way in for parking for the lower level. Also, we will be reconfiguring the entrance off of Myrtle Street. So again, that is much more gradual, and we'll enter the street at essentially at a level location for better site visibility. The parking along the front is, as everyone's aware, we have kind of the elevated diagonal parking. We're maintaining some of that, and then over here in front of these buildings, it will be parallel parking. The lower level consists primarily of parking, both covered and open. There's parking below all the buildings. They would all have entrances and elevators to go up to the units above. We're approximately 418 parking spaces. With the 200 units, we're proposing 1.5 parking spaces per unit, so that's 300. And then we have 118 spaces available for the commercial, retail, and visitor parking. As I mentioned, here's the first floor. We're picturing number 10 being all open and potentially removing the second floor. The ceiling height in number 10 is a little low. So we're looking at maybe this could be a 2-story commercial, retail, restaurant space, a good anchor on this side. And then, as I mentioned, all these spaces that front on Main Street would all be commercial spaces. Excuse me, here's the parking deck here. And again, the building at 50 is all retail, commercial space around the whole building. For some reason, I can't get to the next slide. Sorry. I'll make it larger here in a minute. Everybody still see that?
Yep.
Okay, second floor. Again, we are not providing any units because we're proposing no second floor at number 10. And then we have second floor of apartments on each, in each building. Third floor, we're proposing that we step back and provide a roof deck, if you will, a common roof deck off of each building. And also towards the rear, we actually are connecting the buildings to provide additional units. So at this point on this floor, we have 60 units. On the fourth floor, we're proposing that there is no fourth floor on number 20, and then they would all the units would be here. We are again stepping back, and we'll see that in a rendering in a minute. So that again, there are roof decks here for common use. So again, the building presence on the street is essentially 2 stories on the street and then steps back for each successive floor. Towards the back of this building, we have kind of a fitness center and a multi-purpose community room for the residents. So this is a view from south on Main Street as you're going north on Main Street. This would be number 50. Again, proposed to have retail, commercial, the whole first floor. Again, the driveway goes down to the lower level here, and there's a wide sidewalk that goes around the whole building here. As you can see here, we have the entrance to the parking deck between the buildings. Again, we have 2 stories on the street, steps back to the 3rd floor for that common roof deck, and then we step back for the 4th floor. So again, the buildings typically are not along the street are not taller than what you are familiar with now. As you come up Myrtle Street and turn left onto Main Street, again, this is number 10 that again has 2 floors at the back. As we know, this is a kind of the basement level. There is an existing kind of addition that was here. We're going to remove that. And then we are proposing that, again, the 2nd floor, quote unquote, is removed, and we end up with a 2-story commercial space here, which we believe, again, would make an excellent restaurant space, or again, it could be a fitness center with that extra added height. Any questions so far? Mike?
Michael, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. So earlier in the presentation, you said that this was 1 floor, and it looks like 2 floors to me. So that's my first question. Second one is, we spent a lot of time talking about using the facade, the existing facade of the structure of 1020, the old granite facade. And I don't see that reflected in this. And I thought we also talked about keeping the mansard roofs on this building and the next building.
Sure. So what we're proposing, again, the building that is here is a 2-story building. We are proposing to make this more attractive for an expanded commercial attraction, whether it's restaurant or fitness center, is to provide a double height space in this building, if you will. So it does look like a 2-story space, but we are proposing it to be 1 floor, accessible at street level. We are proposing to leave all the granite on this building. And again, it does have a granite and block below. And then on number 20, where are we numbering? We would be doing granite facade there as well, maintaining as much granite as possible, and then returning the granite on either side. And then again, we are proposing to create a more cohesive appearance with all the buildings to, again, maintain the, sorry, let me go back to, oops, not that one. Sorry. The other Main Street. Oh yeah. Okay. I must have deleted it. Again, just to maintain that two-story street facade down the street, and again, bring a more contemporary statement to the buildings. We, again, feel that this is a more cohesive design concept at this point.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know, you know, we spent a lot of time talking about the granite facade. I believe Dale and Pete even went down and looked at, you know, some of the aspects of the building, reusing that granite, cutting it into a veneer almost so that we could still reuse it. So it's a bit frustrating when we come here and I see a change like this. I just have to put it right out there.
So are you saying that the granite should be used on the upper levels, or?
Well, first of all, I didn't realize there was going to be an upper level. You know, what we had talked about was this was going to remain one story. I believe it's one story with a mansard roof right now.
No, it basically has one floor of granite, and then the second floor, it has the mansard roof with the inserted dormers. So you have a second floor with windows, but that is integral to the mansard roof.
Okay. Well, I do think that that would be something that we would like to see. I think I've said that before. So, all right.
Yep.
Madam Chair, while we're taking questions on this specific, Scott, Joe Mignani, I have a question.
Yeah.
The bottom floor, the basement floor, is that parking, underground parking?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if that was it or not. Okay, thank you.
Scott, I'm going to let you finish your presentation, and then I think we'll open it up for board comments and discussions, because I know I have a few, and I'm sure other people do as well. So why don't we let you guys take it through your whole presentation, and then we'll sort of have various discussions on different aspects.
Okay. And again, I know Craig has the kind of the financial impact and advantages of the project that I can bring up too. So again, just a summary, we are down to 200 units, 141 bedroom, 62 bedrooms, and we have about 31,500 square feet of gross space, commercial space, I'm sorry. And the overall gross is about 262,000 square feet. Just for context, the existing buildings are about 145,000 square feet. The land area is about 304,000 square feet. So our proposed FAR is about 0.86. And I think that's enough numbers to throw at people because they get lost.
Okay. Where are we going to go next? Numbers, or do you have more for us, Scott?
That's the end of my plan presentation.
Okay.
All right.
So if you want to have Craig run through.
Someone has something running in the background, a printer or a shredder.
Let's see if
something.
let's see if I can get, maybe just be the fan on my computer, but I have my headphones plugged in, so it should work. You still hear it?
Still, yeah.
Yeah.
Still loud.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So.
Hang on a second.
Yep.
Let me put another set of headphones on.
There you go.
We'll see if we can get that noise to stop.
It's better.
There, better?
It's better. Still a little bit, but not as bad. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's picking up some of the fan noise. All right. Thank you, Madam Chairman, and Scott. Thanks for that introduction. If you can go to the next slide. We've been tasked as RKG to look at the fiscal and economic impacts of the proposed development, the redevelopment of the buildings.
which we presented before, and this is really an update on that based upon the decrease in the number of housing units, the change in the makeup of those units, and the increase in the retail and commercial space. But first, I just want to, for those of you who are new to this, the revitalization of downtown Ashland has been thought about very seriously for many years, going all the way back to the 2003 plan for the town, the master plan. This particular project is kind of a capstone of that, because this project serves really as a gateway to the revitalized downtown that you've been very successful in implementing over the past number of years. This site, in fact, has been seen as one of the key redevelopment sites, both from the ULI study that I participated in and from some of the other downtown studies that have gone, that have come along. Next one, Scott. Just to put it in the context, as you all know where it is, it's really anchors the downtown on the north end, and is in a very easy walking distance to all of the other activity in the downtown, both the restaurants, the stores, the library, town hall, and the others. And it's also a fairly short distance. It's about 0.8 of a mile up to the MBTA station as well. A little bit outside of what they consider the normal walkable distance, which is about a half mile. But because of the Pleasant Street and the sidewalks, it is an easy and pleasant walk to get there, or ride a bike or some other method. So it is really a transit-oriented site, but it's also, from what we'll be talking about in the 40R process, a site that's really connected to the downtown and helps bring vitality and economic prosperity, hopefully, to the downtown. The next one. Currently, the 10 to 50 Main Street is assessed at only $1.5 million. Most of that's in the land, and it only pays about $25,000 in annual property taxes. Under this proposed redevelopment with the 200 units and the commercial space, we calculate that the net positive fiscal impact is going to be on the order of $255,000 a year. That includes $800,000 in new property tax revenues, substantially above what it's paying now, offset by estimated municipal service costs. And there'll also be some other revenues coming in, such as excise tax on the motor vehicles. And if there is a restaurant there, there's also your local option sales tax, which could raise $20,000, $25,000 a year as well. Municipal service costs, we looked at that on a per capita basis and a per household basis. That comes out to a little bit under $300,000. And the education costs we calculated at $227,000. And we've estimated 26 students. And I have to say that this is significantly more from a ratio perspective than what is coming out of Cirrus Apartments right now. We just got the information from the school department. Cirrus is putting out about 38 kids into the school system on 400 apartments, 398 apartments. If you apply that ratio to this project, it comes out to be 19 students. But what we've done is estimated on the high side of that, based on the fact that there's going to be 25% affordable units here, and up that to 26 students. But even so, it still comes out to be very positive from a fiscal impact perspective. The project's also going to generate one-time fees, both building permit fees for inspection, as well as sewer and water hookup fees that are substantial. And so that's also going to be another source of potential revenue to the town. Next one. The economic impacts, there are both direct impacts and indirect impacts. During the period of construction, there's going to be about 260 people working on and off there, being very well paid, in terms of $21 million worth of annual salary. They are inevitably going to spend some of that money downtown. The commercial development that takes place when it's completed and if it gets filled up is going to generate about 80 to 90 jobs, and paying nearly $4 million in annual wages. And that's significant when you look at the rest of downtown. This is going to be a strong commercial presence in the downtown, really helping bolster downtown as a more of a regional destination for both retail as well as offices and services and those types of things. And obviously there's going to be an opportunity to retain some of that income that's paid to those people when they go out for lunch and when they buy things downtown, walk to the other locations in downtown. And indirectly, there's state taxes, sales taxes, and employment taxes. There's also, the 84 jobs that are going to be there support another 40 jobs somewhere else in the economy because of the money that gets spent through there. So consumer spending at the commercial and retail, depending on a mix of businesses that are there, could be as high as $7.5 million per year. And obviously some of that is going to be captured locally by the other merchants and the other retails and services that are in downtown Ashland. So from that perspective, it's a very positive project. Next one. Now I want to talk a little bit about the 40R process. For those of you who are unfamiliar with it, 40R is the Commonwealth's Smart Growth Program. And it's got two major objectives. One is to encourage more concentrated growth near transit centers and in existing areas such as downtowns in order to consolidate growth into a smaller area, put less of a footprint on the environment, and to be more efficient in terms of the use of the land and building and economic resources we have. On the right side here, you'll see these are the principles that are laid out in the legislation itself. Mix of land uses, having affordable housing, compact design, all of these things that are the forefront of the type of planning and development that people are thinking about as we move into the next many years. It also calls for a minimum of at least 20 units per acre, which we are at with this, and at least 20% affordable housing. Next slide, Scott.
Yep.
Under 40R, and here, the process has to be that the town needs to put together an application for a 40R district, which needs to be approved by the Department of Housing and Community Development. At the same time, what goes hand in hand on that is, as Joe mentioned, was a bylaw, the zoning bylaw that allows these uses to take place by right. That then goes to town meeting for approval. In terms of the eligibility, this project, because of its location, it's right near the downtown. It's within relatively a little further, but it's near transit. It has all of the elements working for it that it meets the criteria of the 40R legislation very directly. And I think will be a very attractive project from the Commonwealth's perspective to support. We are proposing 25% affordability on this, as opposed to the minimum of 20% at the 80% AMI level. Now, the other side of the 40R is the incentives that the Commonwealth provides. For a project of this size of 200 units or less, between 101 and 200 units, the state, upon approval of the district, approval of the zoning and approval of DHCD, will give you a check for $200,000. And then it gives you a check for $3,000 per building permit for the units as they are created and come online. That's substantial. So you're talking $800,000. If it was a larger project, if it was more than 200 units, there's an opportunity for up to another $150,000. It's not necessarily on a per unit basis. It works on a step basis as it goes along. On top of that, the state provides approved 40R communities with priority consideration for state grants, MassWorks, those types of grants. And also, if there is an impact on the schools, which we're saying from our calculations doesn't look like there will be, but if there is, there's the opportunity to get money back from the state to overcome any of those extra school costs that are created as a result of this. So based on that, it's going to be a complex process to pull together that application, but we've got enough history and enough experience between our team, between your planning department and the town to be able to, I believe, put this application in on a basis that makes a lot of sense for the town, so we can get it to town meeting at the first opportunity. So I will end there and turn it back over to you, Scott. Or Joe, back to you.
Yep. You want me to stop sharing, Yolanda, or?
Scott, could you go back to the view of 10 Main Street for a second? Just want to clarify something that Michael.
Sure. Yeah.
So what's not really clear on the drawing, and I just want to make it clear to everybody, is the whole front of 10 Main Street. Michael, like we have talked about, that's going to be shored up and saved. It has a really neat architectural feature with that arch. The side, going down the side, and as Peter and I had looked at it, it's all kind of mishmashed and there's block built in there and it's not structurally sound. So the plan with that side and also all along the other buildings on the first floor elevation is to reuse the existing granite. The plan would be to send it off to a granite veneer company where they would cut the granite and we could use that that existing granite, repurpose it on the new buildings. But the front of 10 would remain exactly the same. That would be shored up and saved. And just also to be clear, you know, it does look like 2 stories, and I just want to make sure everybody understands that is one big open box. It's 1 floor. It's exactly the same height as the building is now. So we're not changing the height, the width, or any of it. The only thing that may be unclear from discussions we have is the concept of the mansard roof. And, you know, that's to be determined. We're, you know, of course, willing to work through whatever works best for everybody on that. This is a conceptual design at this point, but I just want to make sure you're clear that this is just one big open space. I have a vision that a gym would fit really well in there with the tall ceilings and maybe the restaurant down at 50. But just really want to hammer home that the goal is, you know, I'm very, you know, cognizant of the existing granite and preserving it, and that is the goal. So I just wanted to be clear.
And I think, Rich, this is Yolanda. I think there's a sense of not only the granite and, you know, and I'm going to open it up to both boards in a second. We have been talking about redeveloping these buildings for a long time in many ways. My sense from our community is that at least building 1 and 2, at least building 1, maintain the roof, maintains the copper, that building 1, you know, you do inside what you need to so you can make it viable commercially, but it stays looking as much as possible the way it is. So I'm going to open it up to all the boards, and I know there's a lot of discussion to still be had, but just from you know what I've been hearing from Michael is that was the sense of where the discussion was going, that building 1 was going to stay and look from the outside as much as possible the way it does. So
well, we're totally open to that.
Okay.
This is a conceptual drawing, and it's
right.
And
I mean,
yeah.
it's a process, which we've said since you first came to us in September. This is a process. So I think you can go ahead and stop sharing, Scott. And then if you could just give we're going to get Susan back as our host, so we don't lose that when this section of the meeting is done. Okay, so I'm going to start with the select board and open it up to comments and questions from the select board. And then I will hand it over to Dale so he can do the same thing with the planning board. Who would like to start from the select board? Brandy, unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rich and team, for coming back to us and taking a lot of the suggestions that we had made to heart. I like the stepping back of the buildings, the 40 and 50. I think that will make a big difference in the massing of the project. I had a couple questions. One, you had said that the current commercial square footage is 116,000 square feet. Is that correct? Or
yeah, well, I think the gross building square footage is somewhere between 116 and 140. Again, a lot of if you've ever been around the back of the building, which you probably have, it's very much industrial space that, you know, is warehouse space, production space, manufacturing. So, you know, it's really not conducive to retail. But so again, the actual say retail, you know, kind of public access square footage is probably in the 30,000 to 40,000 square foot range.
Okay, that was actually my question, because I know that there is a lot of industrial space back there. And so in comparing commercial, the 34,000 square feet that you're proposing for this project, and, you know, just kind of being able to compare apples to apples with you know, what is currently there for square footage that's being usable commercial space versus industrial warehouse. So that's super helpful. And then I just have one other question as far as the application process for 40R. You had mentioned that the application needs to be approved by DHCD and then it goes to town meeting for a bylaw. What, you know, I'm just curious what that process looks like with DHCD, what the timing looks like. So, you know, from our perspective, you know, if we move forward, what this would look like with town meeting and timing and stuff.
We're looking into that timing with DHCD. We don't believe there's going to be a major delay. In fact, with the governor's latest discussions that he's having and the proposed legislation he's coming up with, this is going to be taken a very high priority, I think, within both his departments and then getting that through DHCD for approval. It's a parallel process. The town needs to approve the preliminary application, have the bylaw pretty much written and approved. It goes to DHCD and then we'll come back for the final town meeting vote.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll turn it over to whoever's next. Thank you.
Okay. Who else from the select board has questions or comments?
Well, Yolanda,
Rob?
just a question. Do we want to hear, and this is really to Michael. Michael, do you have a report or impressions you want to give us on this latest version in terms of things we've talked about already, or in terms of the units and the affordability and some of the other aspects?
I can. So, you know, the board had asked for several things. Number one was a reduction of the unit counts from the initial starting point of 270 units down to 200 units. This team has accomplished that, so they have done that. The board was also looking for an increase in the commercial square footage from the initial presentation, which I believe was around 20,000 square feet. They've almost doubled that, so they're now around 34,000, 35,000. So they have accomplished that. And that actually brings that whole ratio of commercial versus residential to that 15% sweet spot, which actually the TAP that Craig referenced earlier said was probably what's going to be at most financeable in Ashland, meaning the highest commercial ratio that could probably be financed. As you can see, there have been some, changes to the design. This is the first time that I've seen the actual design since we've had conversations about it. Personally, I think it's still a little massive on some sides. I think, Yolanda, you captured it correctly on the first two buildings, the more historic buildings. I think the town would really like to see those remain as they are, obviously renovated, but remain. A couple of other things. So the parking, one of the things that we talked about is the ability to utilize some of the space as shared parking, meaning public parking for the community, for downtown amenities, not just located at 10 to 50 Main Street, but in downtown in general. I've heard some tacit type of commitments to that. I would like to see that more firm. I would like to see a commitment to that, period. And the other thing that we've talked about, and it's really more of the development agreement, is if the state funding does not come through, Mr. Gordon and his team actually providing those financial incentives, that financial incentive payment in lieu of the state if the state doesn't follow through.
All right, thank you.
They've accomplished a lot.
Okay. Just my impressions. I think, and I'm looking at that. Thank you, Michael. That's good to know. I think one of the things we should, I do want to discuss tonight is about the fiscal impact that we did contract for and how that's going, but I don't think we need to talk about that right now. I just don't want to forget to ask about that. I'm looking at that south side view in the presentation, and it does look, and this is the opposite side, I guess, and that it just kind of looks kind of massive, and I don't know if that's the way the drawing is, or, you know, the foreground in the perspective just looks, is it really going to have that kind of visual impact? I guess that would be my question, or my feedback on that. And that's the opposite view, I guess, coming from you know, downtown and heading out. I think, you know, so two things in general. I think the visual impact, you know, and well, let me just say I think the idea that 40R is going to be well received, and the benefits and the affordability and the improvements to the riverside and things like that are going to be well received. But I think if the visual impact, again, is too overwhelming, you're not going to get the support at town meeting, even regardless of what we end up saying, I would say. So I think that's going to be a key look. And the other thing I think that people will continue to be concerned about is, what will this do to traffic downtown? So, you know, I think part of the successful application will need to include a good traffic study that kind of alleviates those fears. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. So, you know, I think those are the two main things that you're going to challenges for you to do what you want, but have that visual impact not be so overwhelming that people perceive it as changing the character of downtown too much. And then, you know, what is the impact going to be traffic wise? I think that's also going to be very important. And the rest is all, you know, I think pretty good. Is good, you know, the commercial, the housing, the density. I think people can, you know, live with that if those things are addressed. So, so thank you for that.
Okay, Steve, and then Joe, if you have anything.
Yep, thanks, Yolanda. So this question is related certainly to the 40R funding that Michael spoke to earlier, and it's really directed towards, I guess, Craig and Joe at this point relative to their explorations of 40R and the town's, I think, potential lack of confidence in the state's ability to actually fund this. We've seen it over and over again in situations. We've talked about this at every meeting, our concern about 40R funding actually going to be there as it's laid out. Now, I don't know if you have had discussions directly. Joe, I think you mentioned earlier that you did a lot of research on 40Rs through the state. I know the governor, his agenda is his housing choice program, but given the economy, given the impact on the state budget, given a lot of things, you have any sense of where the state would potentially be with this program?
Well, Stephen, thank you. It's a great question, and I think that everybody is concerned about funding generally in the Commonwealth, as we all should be. The preliminary conversations that I've had with the people in the legislature that I know is that this governor has a significant priority to create affordable housing, especially in communities such as Ashland, which is serviced by transit. Obviously, the past year has changed a lot of that relative to the ability or the desire to use public transportation, the necessity for it, basically by the way we're having our meeting tonight, and other factors. I don't have an answer for you. I think it's a great question. It's something that the team is looking into. Craig is spending, he's really the person focused on that. But my conversations with a couple of the legislators, they always just casually say to me back, well, this governor is very much in favor of supporting affordable housing in transit communities. And if there is going to be money available, it'll be available for that. I know that doesn't make you feel warm and fuzzy. It wouldn't make me feel warm and fuzzy if I was sitting in your position either. But I think that what we all hope for is that there will be a recovery that will allow for this type of growth, and that this type of growth will be supported by the Commonwealth under the statutory guidelines that it created.
Yeah, well, I think it's, certainly it's an attractive carrot to be putting out to a community, but I think we have to be very cautious about about that carrot, given a whole lot of conditions and dynamics. So, but my second comment at this point, I know Yolanda and Joe still have some comments to make, but I'm really interested in hearing from the design folks on the planning board at this point.
Yeah.
Joe, anything?
Oh, and Steve, I can add the Democrats won, so the funding looks much more hopeful than it did a few weeks ago.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And that's probably the reason
Well,
why this.
We won't even deal with that comment, Rob.
Yeah.
Considering who our governor is, who makes some of these decisions. Anyway.
Well, that's true with the governor. Yep.
That's why the bill is still sitting on his desk unsigned as of last Wednesday. Being part of CHAPA, I'm in a seminar right now with the Affordable Housing Trust, and we're talking about 40Rs and 40Bs and 40As with mixed use and multifamily units. Would this be considered a 40A because you have multiple apartments and mixed use with respect to commercial use in the same buildings? If it is, then that would be considered a 40A project, and you would be susceptible to a 2/3 vote at town meeting. And these are the notes that I took from last Wednesday, and I'm just kind of curious if that's the case. The other question that I have is I still see the intersection of you folks utilizing the lights at Main and Pleasant to gain access and exit from your property. I haven't heard any discussion about plans to assist the town in redesigning or providing funding to help with that change in the lighting structure at that location. There hasn't been any discussion of it at all. I'm kind of curious if that will happen before we take a vote on that, because there's a lot of things that need to be discussed. Traffic study is one thing, but the other has to do with the design of the type of lights that you're going to be using. Are they going to be radio frequency lights? It'll be matting lights, which they're getting away from because of the expense of having to dig them up and then replace them, and all using radio controlled lights. So I mean, that's a question I have, and I don't know if Scott or Rich has thought about that or discussed that with Michael at all, but I'll just throw that on the table.
Rich or Joe or anybody on the light, the redesign of that light and intersection in association with the design of the building.
One of the things that we've talked about throughout the process is that there will have to be a detailed traffic analysis, which we have begun to engage someone to get that done, which I think will then create a situation where we'll know what needs to be done relative to the lights. Rich and I have talked about that. We've, Mr. Magnani brought up the technology. The technology in traffic lights is changing significantly. Rich and I talked about that, and we expect that we're going to have discussions with that with Public Works, et cetera, as we move along. And then back to the question that was asked relative to 40A or 40R. This will be a 40R smart growth bylaw. This will not be an amended by this will not be trying to create a new district in Ashland under 40A. It will be 40A would exclude you from any of the benefits that we talked about may or may not be available. We will go in under a 40R.
Okay, thank you, Joe. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm actually going to hold off on my comments. I'm going to let us hear from the planning board. So Dale and members of the planning board, if you have questions or comments, I don't know, Dale, how you want to start, either or your members or.
Yeah, before I open that up really quick though, the 40R process is different. Normally a big project like this would come before the planning board and we would be doing the design and the traffic and all that. So maybe just for the general public, if you could really briefly show, because the selectmen are really doing what we normally would do and our role is different. If you could explain that real quick so that everybody knows how the process works, because you guys are doing more what we would normally do on a big project. And so if you could explain that real quick, how just the procedure,
Oh, I see what you're saying, Dale. Right. So because they came to us as the start and then it would get handed off, but we as the select board would sign the development agreement. And so for us to feel comfortable signing the development agreement, we've asked Michael to work with Rich and his group to put some things or to start the discussion before we sign the development agreement. And Michael, if you have anything to add, go ahead.
Yeah, I will. So the development agreement is being worked on, but Dale, one of the things that the select board and I have talked about is that at some point, and I think we are rapidly approaching that point if we are not right now, to have maybe a subgroup of maybe a planning board member and a design review committee member and a select board member start meeting to focus on the design of this project. Especially as a 40R application is developed, because I think Rob was exactly right. The benefits of this, of a 40R project are multifaceted. This project can check a lot of boxes, but if it doesn't look like Ashland, it's not going to get the support that it needs, and it's not going to be the right project for us. So we have thought about including the planning board and design review as part of the process.
Yeah, we are definitely not trying to step on your toes
Oh,
and the planning
no.
board's toes.
Oh.
We just want to make sure we're doing our due diligence before it gets to you to do the work that you need to do.
And my main thing was because, you guys are doing all that design, the stuff that we would normally do. So to the general public, before we start getting all the emails about
We're getting them already, Dale. So,
building. So our role is more of getting the zoning changed or submitting the zoning change for the project. And your role is more like what we would normally do, of the design and the units and the agreement that you guys are making, right?
Dale, actually, I think, so it's going to be a zoning change. So you're right. You would need to make a recommendation on that zoning change, as any zoning change that happens in the town of Ashland. And I do believe that this still, after that zoning change happens, an application is filed, and this does go through site plan review and
correct
permit, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
I would think so.
And that's why we're working together, because we want to make sure we're all on the same page when it comes to, we're not going against what you've already agreed to. Okay. Just so everybody knows, kind of, it's a different process than normal, a little bit different. So anyway, with that, I'll ask the planning board members if any of you have questions. And I can't see everybody on my screen, so maybe you can help me.
Go ahead, Tricia.
I'm Tricia Kendall, obviously on the planning board, but also a practicing architect here in town. And there's several things. I did see this project, probably an earlier version of it, months ago, and very briefly, not in any formal context. So I didn't kind of waited till it came down the pike a little bit further to start to understand it more. And, obviously I think this site could really use some help, given the direction we're trying to get, trying to guide Ashland in. I know inside that building, at least in the lower levels, it is a maze. I have been inside it. It's kind of crazy in there, and I would certainly not have made it out alive if I hadn't been guided by someone through all those various hallways. But I want to go back a little bit and look at and try to understand the site a little bit better. I admit I did not do any homework prior to this meeting, and I don't know what the historical context of this building is. And maybe that's not, maybe that doesn't have to be addressed right here, but maybe it could be a part of future presentations of this project about what's important about these first two buildings and why that mansard roof is important. To me, I've lived in Ashland about 16 years. I'm not a towner, I'm not a lifer who have been here the whole time and grew up with this building. And so thus maybe don't have the attachment to it that others may. And so as understanding actually what the historical context is, what it was used for, and why its appearance, including the roof, is important to save is something I would want to know, because architecturally to me, it has no weight. And so I would be interested in knowing and why that is so important. And that's, like I said, maybe it isn't the context here, but something for the future so that we can continue discussing that. Because one of the reasons I think it's important to question that whole thing is that this building located where it is really, even though it's not a major road, it's not a 4-lane road or anything like that, but it's a gateway into Ashland, coming into this downtown area. And I think the Main Street building, all I can think of is the bagel table, but not remembering the exact address. That building has kind of started to form that gateway. That's something really pleasant that you see coming into town. And so I'm not sure yet that corner condition, whether we save this existing mansard roof. I do like the granite. I think we could use it. But saving this kind of building, or the first two buildings as they are, does that produce the entranceway into Ashland that we would like, either in its existing form or what's shown in the current design? I understand it's very schematic. I understand that process just all too well. So I'm not putting that, obviously, that this is the final product, but has that been looked at as, hey, this is a gateway, and does it look like a gateway? Does it look like an entranceway? Do you see that you have arrived when you get to that corner? Obviously, all the other buildings start to become this part of the fabric of the town, but that corner to me seems, I would like to know why it's being maintained the way it is. So design-wise, that would be my first question. The rest of the building, again, I know it's very schematic, so it's kind of hard to comment on now, but besides some of the material choices, which I can kind of see on the material choices, material colors, otherwise it does kind of look to me like it doesn't have the character that maybe the town is further along in the design process that we start to look at and analyze more carefully. And I'm wondering if there's a feel for that character, that level of detail, that level of down to human scale that we're looking for. Right now, it's kind of a series of blocks, and I understand that's a starting point for any project. And while we look at bigger site issues, but those are the design things that I think that stand out to me first and foremost, and the ones that I'll be looking at more as this thing kind of goes down the way. And the second thing I guess I would say is that, just wondering about the businesses in that building currently. And I am not a numbers financial person at all, so this is going to be in somebody else's court. But I do know that an extreme effort on many sides was made to find those businesses and welcome them to Ashland. Some of them are already an important part of our fabric of our community. And it would be very important to make accommodations that not only that, yeah, we're going to be offering them a space, but it's a space that suits their needs after the investment they've already made in Ashland. And that it's provided at a rate they can still afford to stay in Ashland. Because yeah, this new building could be a great asset to Ashland, but so are those businesses. And I think that would be very a critical piece kind of this puzzle. So I probably have other things, but I can definitely wait to hear what other members of the board have to say.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other planning board members? You
Yeah.
see it?
Hi.
Joseph.
Hey, thank you, Yolanda. Everybody, I'm Joe Rubertone. I was on the planning board. I'd like to start with, I think this is a pretty exciting discussion and a pretty exciting topic for the town of Ashland. This is, I think this project, the site has great potential, and I think that it's exciting to be talking about this and going down this path and approaching it in the way that these groups, that both the developer as well as the town boards are trying to talk about it. I do think, in the current revision that we look at tonight, I do think it is, the start of a thoughtful proposal. I think, the presence of committed kind of public parking at some level within the site is an important aspect for the town. I think the Riverwalk, as proposed in these preliminary things, is a thoughtful kind of public tie-in, which I think adds to the thoughtfulness of this proposal. I think the affordable housing and 25% is also meaningful and part of the thoughtfulness of this. And I think it's exciting. In terms of some of the financial pieces, we talked about concern for whether or not the state funding will be there. And so, I mean, I want to say, I thought the financial analysis on this was interesting and useful. And what I'd actually like to see is, let's assume, my point, to cut to the chase, this project might well make financial sense for Ashland with or without the $800,000 from the Commonwealth. And I think that looking at the numbers and understanding what it could mean to Ashland with and without those funding, assuming it doesn't come through, what does it look like? I think that would help provide kind of context for this group as we continue on this discussion. In terms of some of the physical elements of the building, I agree that Trish, I think your point's really well made about building one and kind of asking that question and saying, like, let's be firmer about why this is important and like why this is significant. That said, I think it's a great question to ask and a good way to go. I also do think my gut reaction is aligned with Yolanda and Michael that, we're looking to take this historic mill building in downtown Ashland that used to be where many, 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 many people in Ashland made a living, lived, worked, met significant others. Like it's a historical piece of the fabric of Ashland, no doubt. And so, I mean, my gut says that those pieces there needs to be some meaningful kind of acknowledgement of the past. And so my gut is that, what's there needs to stay at a little bit more of a level or be tied in a different way. I think getting some more, looking at the existing drawing, I know it's early and it's a schematic, but tying in a little bit more of some of that downtown New England feel into the design and incorporating pieces. I think dealing with building one, would be a good start towards that. But I think that would, that some of that design and that integration needs to happen. I think really critical for both boards is looking and seeing as this design continues to play out, we definitely need a ton of contrast renderings with downtown, looking down Main Street, seeing this proposed building in context with 128 Town Hall, Main Street, the new streetscape that's coming. There's so much change coming to downtown Ashland, and these boards really, not right now, sorry. These boards really need to be able to, like, these contrast renderings are really critical. I've seen them used in other projects for downtown, and they're very helpful. So I definitely think that seeing some of that as the design continues to evolve, like, would be useful. I think the existing business commentary is from Tricia. I would echo that. I think there's some meaningful points there. And I think that to the extent that the existing businesses, which were, as Tricia highlighted well, great amount of effort has been put into fostering, developing these businesses in Ashland. These are largely local people, business owners, right? So as much consideration as this project can have to, transplanting from one facility to another here, I think that would be a hallmark of a great project versus just a project, right? And that would be the right way to treat some of these folks who have put blood, sweat, and tears into starting a small business, which is a huge undertaking. So I have some other more smaller comments about specific things. I'm going to save that for future conversations. Like, those are my big bullet items. And thank you for the ability to participate tonight and comment.
And on that note too, we got a grant and we're working on downtown, redoing some of the downtown zoning. And we've been spending a lot of time working on that and the look and the feel of the downtown. and integrating that into the zoning and incentives for people to build. And that's, I'm sure that the select board can all access that where we're at on that. There, he has the presentation, all that. Might be good to look at that too, so that maybe some of that can be integrated into the look of the building and the feel of the whole thing, because we've been spending quite a bit of time, and we have that grant that they're helping us redo the zoning and the features on the buildings and how, you know, all that stuff. So it might be a good idea to review some of that, where we're at on that too. Maybe it'll help to get some of the design features and fit in.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, anything you guys are doing with zoning, I know the inclusionary zoning is being worked on, as well as a couple of other things. So yeah, that's why I think we're at a, you know, after tonight's meeting, we're at a point, as Michael said, to get sort of a subcommittee of a select board member, a planning board. I'd also like to recommend a member of our new historical committee, and then design review, working with Rich and his team on this. Is there anyone else from the planning board that'd like to give any questions or comments or feedback?
This is Lakshmi,
Hi, Lakshmi.
from planning board. I just have a comment. So there are a couple of new projects, whether it be the bagel table building or the new residential building in Main Street. So this project is so huge. I just was wondering, when the design was talked about, was the other two projects looked at before designing? Because this project is going to be huge. It should not stand out from the other two projects. Will it blend in with those two new projects, or will it stand out? Was there any thought given to that? And again, so I'm trying to echo what Joe was saying, that we should look at the view of Main Street once this project is designed, so that we can get a feel for how Main Street will look, whether it'll stand out or whether it'll blend with the other building and stay within what we want for Main Street in Ashland. So just that's all. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Dale, did you have any other comments?
Nope. Everything was covered. I have some things I would like to do a little research on, but I think we got a good start, and it's going to help that, like you said, if we have everybody involved from the beginning, we can, you know, it will go in the same direction rather than back and forth. And
yep. Okay. Before I do my last comments, is there anything else from the select board?
I just had a
Rob?
clarifying question, Madam Chair. So what is the actual role of the planning board as a formal body in this? Are they doing design review or some of the?
Because they are the permitting body, they will
Okay.
have the final say on the building and the permits, and, you know, just like they do on any other building here in Ashland. Because we have to sign the development review, the development agreement. And because we were the first body that we saw, that's why we're looking at doing this joint subcommittee to, you know, some of the things that Michael has already worked out with Rich and his team in regarding the number of units and the amount of commercial and things like that. Those are things that we considered in regards to the financial impact and things like that. So that's, but planning board will have the final say on passing the permits on this building after, of course, I mean, town meeting will have a process in this, because they have to vote and or support the 40R zoning.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anything else? Just a couple comments before I close this out. I understand this is still very much, you know, the conceptual. And, you know, I'm looking at this building, and for myself, you know, I've been in town about 30 years. I'm not a lifelong resident, but I listen to people. Trisha, and I know we'll get more into this in regards to the history. Those buildings were originally built in the 1800s. So they've been a fabric, they've been a part of Ashland for a long time. And that's part of why I think, you know, and we have residents that are on this meeting. And if it's okay with anyone, I'd like to, you know, maybe give a few minutes to them, because they've been sitting here and listening. But before I do that, I think that for me, the conceptual makes me think of new buildings I've seen in other communities. some of the buildings in downtown Framingham, some of the buildings in other locations. And it was interesting, Scott, you mentioned that you wanted to give the buildings a more contemporary look. And in my mind, when I hear contemporary, that to me means you want a building that looks like other new buildings that have been built in the 2020s. And as we all know, sometimes contemporary design of the time does not fit and match or does not hold for the future. If you go out to UMass Amherst, you can tell which buildings were built when the school was originally opened and which ones they put up in the 1970s, and all the concrete and and at the time it was considered that these are contemporary buildings. They did not hold up well with time and architectural design and architectural review. So I would just ask that when we're looking at these buildings, I mean, they scream redevelopment. They've screamed redevelopment for 20 years, if not more. But I think thoughtful redevelopment and thoughtful with input from the residents so that it's a building that still, it is something that people will want to move into, but also something that, to Joe's point, fits in with downtown Ashland. Now, you're going to have 100 visions of what downtown Ashland should look like. A perfect example is 128 Main Street. You have people who hate 128 Main Street. And I was talking to someone who lives in another town and they said, oh, if I was going to move to downtown Ashland, I'd move to that great building that's now at 128 Main Street. So, it's hard, but I would just ask that as you go through this process, we consider what, we want it to be Ashland, not something that can be someplace else. All the financial stuff is great. It's certainly a benefit to our community. But I would not be genuine in saying that that's not the only incentive for us to work with you are those finances. It has to be a building that works for our community. I definitely believe we need to do the traffic study. We need to look at what's going to happen with that light, that it'll be a large impact. Yes, we're looking, because it's a transit oriented, we're looked at as a transit oriented community. We look at that and you have talked about having a shuttle to the train station, but we all know on a Saturday, if they need to go grocery shopping, they're not taking a shuttle to the train station. They're driving to Shaw's or they're driving to Market Basket. There's going to be that extra traffic that we'll be seeing. I'd like to echo, the concern for the Ashland businesses who specifically chose Ashland and have put a lot of time and energy and money into this building to create and develop their business. And, Rich, you're a great business person. And I think that, you're willing to work with them. And we would encourage that, because these are businesses, that are part of Ashland, and we want them to remain part of Ashland. So I think at this point, we need to look at creating the subcommittee, get this process, moving it forward. And one of the things I'd recommend is we do, it's hard, but some kind of community forum. I think there are a lot of people interested in seeing what's going on or what may happen with these buildings, because they've been here a long time. They're mill buildings. They were built as mill buildings. The, dams were built, stuff was done. It was, as you said, it was industrial. So before we leave, yeah, Steve, go ahead.
You had mentioned earlier about opening it up for some discussion. Can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
Not to defer, or actually to defer.
Okay.
Public discussion. It's 9:30. We still have a lot on our agenda. This is a project that's going to have a lot of discussion for I think, a period of time. If we're going to have public forums, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for comments. I think at this point we should be moving on to our agenda if we're done with the presentation.
Thoughts from other board members?
I guess the only thing I would, I don't know, Michael, do you have any update on the independent analysis, the peer review that we're undertaking? Is that schedule on that, or?
Talking about the economic impact analysis?
Yeah.
We just have to update the figures that are part of the analysis. Again, like I mentioned before, Craig actually developed the one that we use. So I'd like to just double check his numbers.
Okay,
too.
but I thought we were contracting with someone to do that.
Oh, you're talking,
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Amanda,
I
right?
do not have an update on that. I did, the last correspondence I received, I believe, from Rich's team, stated that funds would be deposited for that.
Okay.
Upon the signing of the development agreement, but I don't remember.
Oh.
I don't remember that being the agreement. I thought we were going to go ahead.
Yes. We were going to start like very soon to do that analysis and confirm his analysis. So I think that's still important.
Yeah. So, you know, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again here. Like, if you go ahead, I understand you can't fund the whole thing, or nor should we ask you to fund the whole thing. But if you could go ahead and make that deposit into the 53G account that we can do the peer review, we can go ahead and get that started. We talked about this back in December, I think, and maybe even November. So we're ready to get started. I mean, we've selected the person, and looking forward to getting that going. So I know Pete was reaching out to you to coordinate that. So I would just ask you to finalize that, please.
Yeah, we agree on that, and we're ready to get that going. So we just need instructions on how to deposit that. We are ready to go. So
has Peter been in touch with you on this?
We haven't ironed out the specifics. Pretty much just tell me how to deposit it, and we're ready to go. We like the person that you've chosen, and we are on board with that. So no problem.
Thank you.
Sure.
And Peter's even there. Did you want to add to anything, Peter? You're muted. You got to unmute.
On mute. I'm sorry, everybody. Good evening, Board of Selectmen and Planning Board members. I spoke with Rich and his team, and I'm more than happy, and I'll call Rich tomorrow, and we can work out the process to get those funds opened up and get that account rolling. So I'm happy, and I'll reach out to Rich's tomorrow with the earnings.
Great, thank you. So I'm getting the sense that people don't want to open it up to the public right now. So I would like to make sure then that we put this on a future agenda and get some feedback. Okay.
So we should close, I probably should close our meeting, right?
Yes, Dale.
Okay.
I'll
So
let you
is
do
there
that.
a motion to close the planning board meeting?
So moved.
Oh,
Sorry, Treasurer.
so moved.
Seconded.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Kendall, aye.
Lakshmi Krishnan, aye.
Deepa Venkatai.
Joe Rubertone, aye.
Dale Buchanan, aye. That's 5-0-0. Passes. All right, thank you.
Thank you, planning board members, for joining us tonight. And Michael and I will be in touch.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
And then
Thank you,
Scott, before you leave, just a reminder, please assign Susan
Yes.
notes. Because if you leave the whole meeting.
Yeah, just
So
get the,
what do I do?
Oh, wow. Now you're looking for specific instructions.
Susan, can you talk Scott through what he needs to do to get you back to being host?
So Scott, you need to go up to the dots and you need to select me as the host.
Dots, which. not
There
the
should be
B.
dots on your screen right next to like where it says mute. Do you see that? There's like 3 little dots. You
No,
should
there
be
are
able to
not.
right click it.
There are not on my screen. I have the mute and the video button, but there are no. Oh, you're saying on my, I'm sorry. Good. Stop video, rename, mute, pin, spotlight for everybody. I don't have,
It doesn't have anything to like transfer host or anything.
nope.
So Scott, if you actually put your cursor over Susan's square, they'll be her. I'm pretty sure if she has on her little three dots, I think it will say make Susan host, I think.
Nope.
Okay, the other thing you can do is go to participants at the bottom of the screen. So where it says like, click on that, and then you'll get a list of participants. And if you go on Susan's name and do more, it should allow you to change host.
Let me look at that. Invite or not? No.
No.
So I did go to on share screen. I clicked multiple participants can share simultaneously. That was the only thing I could see that I could change.
Okay.
So Scott, looks like you're with us for the rest of the night, buddy.
That's fine. I can do some reading.
All right. We'll be done by 1 or so. Don't worry.
Let's see.
Done before 1.
Well, Madam Chair, thank you. On behalf of our team, thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate the scope and breadth of your involvement in it, and the amount of time you've given us, and we'll continue to work with your personnel, with Michael, Peter, and Beth, and we'll try and get this thing moved forward. Thanks again.
Great. You're very welcome. Thank you, Joseph.
All right. Night.
Good night.
Night. Stay safe, everyone.
Good night.
Rich, last words? Or okay, Susan is now the host. Okay.
Awesome.
I just got a note that Susan is now the host.
It just came up.
Perfect.
I guess when I heard that I had to stay the rest of the night, I
It decided to work. Perfect.
So I can leave now?
All the time.
Yes, you're all set, Scott. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Moving on. We are going into old and new business. We're going to start with the discussion of the January 3rd town meeting and the January 27th town election. We have been requested by the moderator to reduce the quorum. We currently have a quorum of 25. Because of how he wants to move people in and out, he is looking for a reduction. Brandy, why don't you, I believe you've been working with Adam, and let us know.
So as you said, the town moderator has asked us to reduce quorum. We, because we are starting at 10 a.m. and going through till probably 2 or 2:30, we do need to make sure that we maintain quorum through the entire period of time. Our current quorum is 25. So Adam has asked us to reduce that amount because although we do feel that there will be plenty of participation, we want to make sure that we have quorum at the during the entire length of the voting time as well.
Okay, and what's the recommendation for quorum?
So we could go as low as 3. I think the general discussion has been with Adam that we could move that down to 5. I think that's just it's more of a technicality than anything else. This reduction in quorum, it's not really to reduce the amount of people that are there.
Right.
So.
If anything, it's to allow more people to be coming through and not have 25 sitting there the whole time, correct?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Questions, comments from the board? Steve?
And so we would just be reducing the quorum for this specific town.
Correct. Correct. It would just, special vote just to allow it so that we can run this town meeting the way to keep as many people, allowing them to come in and keeping them safe.
So does that have to be part of the motion, that it's just specifically for this one?
I don't know that it has to be, but I would say we could do that, if our motion would be to reduce the quorum to 5 for this special town meeting that's happening on January 23rd under special circumstances.
Okay.
Rob?
So moved.
No, I think that's a sound idea. My only question would be, after this, are we going to also just either discuss or review the arrangements for town meeting?
Yes. Yeah. Once we have this discussion about the quorum. And I heard a so moved from what I said. Second. Okay. Any other discussion about this? And again, it's not to limit the number of people who can come. It's not, it's so that we can allow more people to be coming in and out to do the voting, but maintain town meeting with that quorum, and it's just for this town meeting time. Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Just,
Rob?
Just a clarification. What is the number we
5.
decided? 5. Okay.
5 people, 5 registered voters have to be in the meeting room at all times, starting at 10 a.m. Okay, Kinsman.
Aye.
Mignani.
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
And Shearer.
Aye.
And Greaves, aye. That passes 5-0. To that note, Brandy did send out an email asking when people are planning on being there. So we can make sure, I know I personally probably will be there the whole time. So,
That's why.
Brandy asked me to stay away. I don't know. Should I take that personally?
So I reached out to our board, to the school committee, and to FinCom, and just to see what people's plans were, just so we could pretty much not have a schedule, but just sort of make sure that between the three boards that we have coverage for that 5-person quorum, assuming that we were going to reduce it to 5. I'm comfortable with the responses I've received. There's a few people that will be there all day, and everyone else is kind of giving me a sort of a ballpark time, and so I think we're good with the quorum number.
Perfect.
Brandy, what is the time frame? Starting at 10?
Yep.
I know when you and I talked, roughly an hour and a half for presentations, and then voting would open up. So are we talking something like 10 to 3, 10 to 2:30? What is it that's anticipated?
So basically what, the presentations are going to start at 10 a.m. And, people can definitely come to town meeting to ask questions on the floor. They can also submit questions in advance to the town moderator by Friday, and Adam will read them on the floor of town meeting. So, there's going to be a period of time where, for discussion, depending on how many people come and what kinds of questions and how long that takes, the moderator thinks that, it will probably be somewhere between, an hour and an hour and a half. Once those questions are, once the discussion is over, the moderator will table the vote. And then basically when people come in to town meeting, they're gonna have 2 cards, 2 different color cards. And so the people that are there for the discussion portion of town meeting will vote. So vote on question 1,
So
yes or no.
voting will start immediately after the end of discussion.
For the people that are currently there.
Okay.
So the people that are currently there will vote. We will have those folks exit. We'll take like a 15-minute recess, and then the voting period will open for approximately 2.5 hours, depending on sort of the people that are coming. The numbers, we're going to have people queue up outside the school if necessary. So I think probably what will happen is that depending on the numbers, we will bring in small groups. They will check in, they will get their cards, they'll come into the gym. They will be asked how they're voting on question 1. They will put their card in a box, yes or no. They will be asked how they're voting on question 2. They will put their card in a box, yes or no. And then they will be free to leave. And so, basically I think it's going to keep the line moving and also minimize the amount of time that people are going to be in the building. So.
And Brandy, will there be multiple lines for checking in? I remember at the December meeting, people could either come through the hallway between the gym and some of the space, or they could come in through the main back door and check in there. Are we having those 3 stations for checking in available, Michael or Brandy?
Michael might
or
be
Jen?
I'm sorry, you had asked if we were going to have multiple check-in stations?
Yes, like we did for the December town meeting.
There's going to be multiple tables I don't know if they'll be set up as, different stations in different parts.
Okay, so not, because like at the December town meeting, people were able to come in from the side parking lot and check in there and then come in, and they were able to come in from the back parking lots and come in there and check in.
I don't believe so. I think what we'll end up doing is queuing people outside.
Okay,
Just, that's what the plan is right now.
okay. So starting at 10 o'clock, really an hour and a half for full presentations?
In questions.
Oh, okay. I'm sure, I mean, what are the presentations looking like in regards to the length of time for those?
Well, I think, for the public safety building, we do something similar to what we did last week and what we'll do tomorrow night. And I timed that. That was about 25 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Mendez was, well, you've been to the Mendez forums.
Yeah. Okay. I would recommend to both, and I'll touch base with Paul, that we try to tighten those up a little bit, if possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. The feedback we got from FinCom is that we probably need to be lean a little bit more on more information in our presentation, as opposed to
Interesting.
reining it back in. So
Okay.
that's FinCom though.
So then the recommendation for people is, if you want to ask questions, you should be there in person or submit them by Friday to Adam. Or, watch from home if you don't have specific questions and then come and vote if you're uncomfortable with being, so, okay. And then we'll take a 15-minute recess after the presentations and the questions and the vote of the people there. And then it'll just be open for the rest for like 2.5 hours. Okay.
Yeah. So we're also telling people that, it's a little bit different from our last town meeting. Not only do you have to wear a mask to come into the building, but if you come up to the microphone to ask a question, you also need to wear a mask as well. So that's a little bit of a different.
And the moderator has said that he'll keep his mask on the whole time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
as well as everyone presenting. Okay, Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brandy, when it comes to the voting aspect of it, do people have to go up to a microphone and declare their voting, or are they just holding up the card that's being given to them, and that card is put into a box? So at the end of the time that's given to the voting aspect of it, are those cards going to be counted?
Yes.
And who's going to be responsible for monitoring the counting?
Adam will do that.
And our town clerk, I would think.
Yes, so there'll be a number of people, but it's actually going to be happening. And Brandy, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Adam said this. Adam's going to be counting as the day unfolds. So, we're not going to wait until the very end and then start counting everything and having to wait for a result. We should know relatively quickly.
So there's going to be a box for question 1 and a box for question 2?
There's going to be 4 boxes. So 2 boxes for question 1, a yes and a no.
Yep.
And 2 boxes for question 2, a yes and a no.
Okay, so each person will be given 4 cards?
No, 1 card.
1 card. No.
1 card for each question.
Well, okay, so it'd be 2 cards then.
Yeah, right. 2 cards, 1 for each question.
Right. Okay, got it. Okay.
Go back to your question about whether they're going to need to go to a microphone and do a public declaration. I think Adam's thinking that depending on how many people are there, we might do, and it's kind of a fluid process depending on, crowds and things like that. But thinking more or less, and Michael, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the thought is if we bring 25 people into the gym, he's going to ask those 25 people all at once, how they're voting on question 1, and they will show their cards.
And
right. All those in favor, aye. All those opposed, right.
So those cards, so those people that be there in person for the beginning of the meeting, when that comes to vote, they will not be putting that card into a ballot box.
They will.
Is that correct?
Everyone
will as well.
Everyone puts everything into a box.
Okay, so they will be doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess
Rob?
I don't understand the need for a verbal going up to the microphone if people are just filing in and voting. Is there some reason that they
My
need to say
understanding
something?
is that because it's town meeting and town meeting is not a secret ballot.
Right.
So
I know, but it's not secret if they're just putting into a certain box. I guess I don't understand why people need to go up to microphones, or shouldn't they just be walking by and voting in the box they choose?
except that then it's, you know, you have to actually be watching to see what they put it in.
I do think, Rob, that we are expecting kind of as more of what we hear is that we'll probably end up doing this as groups. You know, that might be groups of I think there's going to be no groups of no more than 20, I believe 20 or 25. I think
Right.
that,
I think it was 25.
but I think that that's going to happen. Let a few people queue up, then bring them all in. Let them vote by the way Brandy had described, and then move them out, and then move other people in.
All right. And just my follow-up questions, both inside and outside, are there provisions for social distancing on the people coming to vote? I mean, are we having people out there to have markers or anything like that, or you know, how will that be done?
I don't think we will have markers, or I don't think we will have things marked off on the ground. We'll have, you know, we'll need to have people monitoring, and I don't think there's going to be somebody with a ruler.
Do we have traffic cones that we could like put up on the sidewalk, you know, from outside of the doors along the sidewalk, 6 feet apart?
I don't know if we have
It
that.
helps, you
I know
that
it gives
visual.
people the idea.
Yeah.
I think
hopefully people will know.
Yeah, I do think, I don't know how many volunteers Tara and Cindy were pulling together, but I think the general thought was that, you know, the more volunteers, the better, so we can help control the social distancing.
Yeah. Okay. And then my last comment is something I asked both Brandy and Adam, was that, you know, any thoughts about in terms of spacing people out during this, what is an hour and a half potentially, that we indicate, you know, have some kind of way of spreading the attendance to come to vote, but
Either by alphabet or by precinct or yeah.
You know, just to give people an idea when they should come or think about coming, I guess. I don't know. So that would be something I think that people could handle if Adam announces precincts or something like that. And if you don't know your precinct, come whenever you want, you know, but
I think the other thing we can do is through our Ashland social media, you know, be tweeting out saying, okay, you know, we're done with 25 people. If you're available now, come on down, you know, that kind of stuff, and try to monitor it and let people know what's going on, and be as open and transparent. I don't like that word, but as open and transparent with the number of people that are there and what we're seeing, you know, and people monitoring.
Like a live feed or something.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think WACA is planning on doing just the morning portion. Are they going to be there the whole time, Jen?
Full time.
Okay. So people can be watching and seeing what the counts are coming in.
And you know, to Rob's point, I get it that we want to kind of help people, you know, space out. The issue is that people are already very confused about how town meeting is going to go. So if we add another layer of complexity, like what precinct, and if what happens if they don't show up during the right time, and what if they're in line, and what if, you know, I just, it's a complicated, you know, I know Adam put out FAQs and procedural documents, and people are still confused. So, you know, and not only that, but people are confusing that with the ballot vote. So,
right,
you know, it's
Keep it simple. That's all.
Nothing simple, but yeah.
Well,
Okay.
try to keep it that way.
Okay. Good. Anything else on town meeting or the election? I would just remind people that are watching either on Facebook or live or WACA-TV that you're to recommend or request a mail-in ballot tomorrow. January 20th is your deadline to request a mail-in ballot.
5 p.m.
5 p.m. tomorrow. So you have to request it by then, and then it has to be back into the town clerk no later than 7 p.m. in the ballot box or at the town clerk's office on Wednesday, the 27th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else on that item, we're going to go to the next item, ratify the vote taken on January 6th with regards to the town bonds and notes. Michael or Jen, what do we need to?
Yes, so just because we didn't have it on the agenda, it was a last minute addition.
Okay.
The board needs to just vote to ratify it. If you would go to this document, in your packet, the vote of the select board, the only thing that needs to be reread now is the part that just says voted, that the attached votes taken on January 6, 2021.
Okay.
You see that?
Joe, do you have it? Do you want to read it?
I'm looking for it right now.
Or
Madam
actually,
Chair.
I'm sorry. It's Brandy. Brandy's our clerk. You got to unmute though, Brandy.
Okay, so I'm looking for.
It's the vote of the select board.
Bond renewal.
Bond renewal, the last, which part? Do I need?
Middle, the very middle, voted that.
Okay. Voted that the maximum useful life of the departmental.
Nope, keep going.
Further voted?
So, hold on. So it's this sheet. It's
Vote of the select board.
Select board. It should be only that, not only that long, and it's just this middle section.
It's after the consent agenda items in your packet.
I'm using, hold on. Like
So it says, I can read it. I've got it up here if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so it says voted that the attached votes taken on January 6, 2021, approving the sale of the $11,130,000 general obligation municipal purpose loan of 2021 bonds of the town dated January 21st, 2021, in parentheses, the bonds, and two, the $3,999,000 1% general obligation bond anticipation note of the town dated January 21st, 2021, and payable January 21st, 2022, in parentheses, the notes, and approving the terms and details of the bonds and notes are hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed.
Okay, great. Anything else for that, Michael?
You just have to vote. That was what you voted.
Okay, if I can get people to vote that's what we voted. Kinsman.
Aye.
Mignani.
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
Shearer.
Aye.
And Greaves, aye. Great, that is what we voted. Thank you, Steve, for reading that. Okay, moving on. Update on Robert Hill Way, Michael?
Sure. I just wanted to give the board an update on where we stand with Robert Hill Way. As you know, I had been reticent to actually let the certificates of occupancy go out until we had formalized an agreement on a number of things with EA Fish. Things got a little bit tense at the end, but we were able to reach an agreement. They will be paying for the booster pump as agreed, including a $60,000 SCADA system. Our DPW will be getting the land, the site work done. And as part of this agreement, we have, for lack of a better term, negotiated with them a schedule, an occupancy schedule over the course of the next 6 months so that they don't fill up right away. The reason we did that is because one of the things that we're doing to address the water pressure issues is we are keeping our pumps on, meaning the town's pumps on through the winter. And we don't want to necessarily have everything be at full occupancy and then realize, oh, we're not going to have enough water pressure at that point in time. So we're doing this scheduled occupancy, like 10 residents a month on for the next several months until the booster pump is completed.
Just quickly, Yolanda, motion to extend the meeting beyond 10 o'clock.
Okay, if I can get a second.
Oh.
If I can get a second, thank you. We'll just do a visual vote. All those in favor to extend past 10 o'clock? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And that passes 5-0. Thank you.
I'm waving goodbye.
No. Okay. Anything else on that, Michael? Any questions for Michael?
No, they're starting their occupancy, so we're looking forward to having that project be a welcome part of the community. It's certainly providing a valuable resource for Ashland residents. I know a couple of people here already that are scheduled to move in, and they're really excited.
Nice.
Thanks to the neighborhood for working.
On that, Michael, I'm trying to look for my notes and I'm not finding them. When we approved Eversource or NSTAR to do the work on the road, we had asked that they do a curb to curb fix.
That's correct.
That has not happened yet. Are they planning on doing that in the spring?
So this will happen more than likely in the summer.
Okay. Okay. If we could just make sure we stay on them.
Yep.
Because it's pretty bad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was up there the other day checking on that, so thank you.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Correspondence with Eversource regarding outstanding issues. Michael, you wanted us to do something here.
Yes, I was going to ask you to send a letter to Eversource. We've had a couple of developments over the last couple of days that might make that letter unnecessary. So giving them some time. So actually we can remove item D and E from the agenda.
Okay, great.
I don't think there will be any complaints about that.
Okay, removing item D and E, going into our priority project update.
We do not have a further update on the Rail Transit District other than we do anticipate them filing their 40B application. So it was very good to see the ZBA kind of get their
fully
set up in order for that.
Okay.
With regards to downtown, we're continuing to work with GOCO on a construction schedule and a funding schedule. I will ask Bill Paley from BSC Group to come to the next select board meeting to just give the board and the public a presentation on that project and where things stand.
Okay.
It's time for them to come and do that.
Okay. Public safety.
Yeah, we don't have anything going on with that.
Well, I believe Steve has something that he'd like us to discuss.
Thank you, Yolanda. So
you're welcome.
I did have a conversation with Paul Kendall yesterday, and among some of the items we talked about was the fact that even though individually we're all supporting both the public safety building project and the Mendez project, we have not, as a collective body, voted to support that. And I think those are important things to do. So after I talked to Paul, Paul agreed. After I talked to Paul, I did reach out to some of the board. The board seemed to be didn't raise any issues with our colleagues. And I reached out to Lori Tosti, who agreed as well. They're putting a similar request. She is before the school committee meeting tomorrow and to support a joint resolution. I did send a copy of this to Yolanda and Michael. I don't know, Michael, if you want to put this on the screen, the joint resolution. It's very simple. It's not a long, but it just indicates our support for both these projects as the two key boards involved. So I would ask that we.
You want to read it, Steve? Not that long.
I can read it, but
go ahead.
So it's a joint resolution in support of the Mendez building project and public safety building project. So several years ago, our community recognized that our current police, fire, and Mendez buildings are no longer sufficient to meet the needs of our community. They are inefficient, unsafe, and not designed to meet today's needs. Since that time, Ashland has been working diligently toward plans for a new public safety building and a new school building to replace the Mendez School. The community has supported these projects by funding the feasibility studies, by participating in numerous board and committee meetings, and through community discussions. These two important and long overdue projects are now ready to move forward. The select board and school committee unanimously support both projects. Projects like these do come at a cost, but through sound planning, we have been able to time these projects to be financed when our debt service for the public library, town hall, high school, and community center will come off our property tax bills. Further, by the adoption of conservative financial management practices, the town has been able to maintain a AAA bond rating, which will allow it to borrow at historically low interest rates, saving taxpayers millions of dollars. Construction markets are also particularly favorable now. The Select Board and School Committee now ask for your support by casting your votes at the special town meeting on January 23rd and at the special election on January 27th. The Finance Committee has recommended support for both projects at town meeting. We urge Ashland residents to vote yes to support both the Public Safety Building, question 1, and the Mendez School, question 2, and then it would just be signed by respective boards. And that's it, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I think it's important that we do, collectively put out that message.
I can
So
get
with
us a
that-
motion to support the statement as written
So
and
moved.
presented. And a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
Kinsman,
Aye.
Vignani, Mitchell,
Aye.
Shear,
Aye.
and Greaves. Aye. Thank you, Steve, for bringing this forward. I
you.
think it's very important that people know that the 5 of us as a board support these projects. Thank you
And I
for
want to
bringing that.
thank, just quickly, I want to thank Lori Tosti. Lori did a lot of these wordsmithing on this,
Oh, good.
and I appreciate her work, and no doubt the school committee will be in concert with us tomorrow, and we'll be able to publish that when they finish. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I just a question, Steve. Yeah, could you talk a little bit about how you intend to use this statement, or? what's
Well,
the-
I think in the same way we've been using a lot of letters of support that have come through over the last week or so, whether it's from the Sustainability Committee, the police and fire unions put out a letter of support today. The decisions at every turn have put out a letter of support. So it's predominantly going out through social media. That seems to be the most bang for the buck, really, with putting out something like that. Just looking at the statistics for a lot of the stuff that we're posting, we're getting a lot of visibility. People are reading it. Now, granted, it doesn't go to everybody, but that's predominantly how it's distributed, Rob.
Yeah, great.
Steve, we
Thank
should
you.
get this to Susan Petroni, Ashland Source,
Good idea.
so that she can
Do
post
that,
it as well.
Yeah.
Awesome
Great.
idea.
Great.
And we'll post it on our forum for tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be meeting, I think they're starting early. I can check, maybe they can have it done by the time our meeting starts tomorrow, our forum. We
Yeah,
can-
or probably during, we could probably get the heads up. And I think it's important to note, because I feel I've been hearing from a lot of different people over the weekend. I think people need to understand, if they talk about a project singularly, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't support the other project.
Right.
Having said that, I think it's important for all of us to try to talk about these projects collectively as much as we can, because I do know everybody thinks that both of them are vital for the community.
Okay. Next item, Warren District and Valentine Estate. Anything there, Michael?
Well, I wish I had good news on it, but I do not.
Uh-oh.
Unfortunately, we did get the bids in for the Warren barn, and sadly, it was very expensive. The low bidder came in at $808,000. Jen, I know that CTA Construction, but the architect, CSS, I believe, all these acronyms, is vetting that low bidder. The next lowest bid is, I believe, 880. Is that right, Jen? So
this is not a project that's benefiting from what's going on in regards to the building industry.
correct. I can't reiterate. This is a shell. This is literally a shell built on a rough grade slab. And we did get, I think, multiple bids, 4 or 5. And yeah, the low range from 808 and it went to over $1 million. Bad news is that we've got like 300,000, I think, in the Warren account to spend on this. So I need to figure out how to make up a gap for it.
Wait, we only have 300,000 left?
That is correct.
Okay. At our next meeting, if we could get an accounting of that million and
Yes,
what's been done with it?
Yeah, some of that money is, so it hasn't all been spent. I should put it out that million.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The 200,000, I believe, is in a reserve, and I think another 250,000 is in a perpetual care account. So it's not like we've drained $1 million off of it.
Okay. I think it'd still be good to get an accounting
I agree.
of that.
I will say I am very disappointed about these bids. I expected a couple of other bidders. I was expecting a couple of other bidders to bid a couple $100,000, $300,000 lower than this. Just instinctually, I felt that. So I'm pretty disappointed.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we can do.
Okay.
Next is with the Hall House, and we have finalized the agreement with FSU. So we'll be working on a purchase and sale to put before the board for your approval.
Okay.
Nothing on the Valentine estate right now.
Okay. Moving out of priority projects into town manager report. COVID.
Yeah, just an update on COVID. Our first responders have been vaccinated, thankfully. And they've done just a tremendous job in, doing it orderly, getting it to a place where we could get the vaccine first for our first responders. The next phase, I believe, are people 75 and older who have a comorbidity. They are next in line, and I believe following that, the next phase is 65 and older with a comorbidity. It's not expected to roll out to the general public, I believe, until April, but the states are starting to set up some massive testing sites.
I mean, massive vaccination sites.
Massive vaccination sites. So we will all be looking forward to that day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Michael, but just to clarify, so do you think the town, it sounds like this is going to be done on kind of a statewide basis, and the town will not be responsible for doing the mass vaccinations? Is that pretty much the sense
Rob,
that we're getting?
I think those mass vaccination sites will be an option. I still think that there's going to be a role for our local boards of health, and we're just waiting for that guidance. We're working on getting vaccines now, so hopefully we'll have a little bit more instruction as it comes through.
Michael, do you know, have our senior citizens, our assisted living facilities in town, have they received their vaccines yet?
They have.
Weren't they in this first phase?
Yes, they have all received their vaccines. PVS and Walgreens have worked out a partnership with the state.
Perfect.
Conducted all of those.
Okay.
That's good.
And then just an update, not this Monday, but the Monday before, they did a group testing at the high school, thanks to Ed Berman. They had been given 700 tests. They administered 473, and they found 4 positive cases from those who got tested. So it was good that they did it. And the high school is now back to hybrid learning. So that's good. Hopefully we can keep it that way for them.
And then
yeah, budget.
Budget update.
Yep.
Really have nothing new except to let everybody know that FinCom will be having their required budget hearing on February 2nd. This will be televised.
Okay.
And as usual, we will do the larger departments, and we will also be doing facilities, which right now we don't have a facilities department. We have money to create one, and we just need to get that plan in place and organized, and then we'll move that forward as part of the FY22 budget process.
Okay.
And that's,
Any other questions on the budget? Board reports. I forget where I started last time. We'll start in the middle. Steve.
Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
Thank you, Yolanda, for your opening comments about the inauguration. I think they were articulated, and I just I did have an opportunity. I hope everybody had an opportunity to watch the swearing-in ceremonies and President Biden's address. I thought it was a very good mix of hope, but also realism as well. But I wanted to comment really, I thought, on some outstanding performances. I thought Lady Gaga's version of the Star Spangled Banner was just awesome. I thought J-Lo was terrific. This Land Is Our Land. And also Amanda Gorman, the poet laureate, just did a fantastic reading of her poem that she composed for this event. So I thought it was, despite all of the restrictions of the pandemic, I thought it was a really moving event today. So wanted to mention that. I participated today in a community coffee hour that's done monthly at the community center, and it was a good handful of folks there. One of the people participating was Jim Zabrowski. Jim is on the Council on Aging, and he also serves on the emergency fund as well. And he mentioned that the emergency fund, and I think we should just make sure that we get out into the community that the emergency fund has resources, and they have the ability to assist people that are in need. And he was pretty emphatic about that they have resources at this point. He made the comment that Ashland is just a generous community and has really contributed a lot to the emergency fund. So, Jen, I know you're immersed in this, and so I think it's just good that Ashland knows what resources are available. So, and then lastly, best wishes, of course, to our first responders, our nurses and frontline healthcare workers, human services staff, teachers, and our administrators, and our town staff as well. So thank you all.
Okay.
Great.
Let's go to Brandy. I'm really mixing it up tonight. Keep you all on your toes.
I was just ready to, okay. Ladies first. Ladies first.
Okay, so I just wanted to begin with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose birthday and legacy we celebrated this Monday. One of my favorite quotes by him is, "If I cannot do great things, I can do small things in a great way." So, we all know that what matters most in our community takes great work. So, as we are bringing these big projects to town meeting and in front of the voters this week, I really wanted to publicly thank and recognize the Public Safety Building Committee, Joe and Steve, Michael and Jen, the chiefs, the community members that have spent years working on this project to get it to this point. And I also wanted to thank publicly the Mendez School Building Project, Paul Kendall, who's done like probably 1,000 meetings, I think, at this point. Yolanda, the administration team at the schools, educators, community members. It's really been just such a community project. So I wanted to publicly, I know this is a big week for us, and we're hoping to take this to the next step. But on behalf of the community, you've really done really great things. So I just wanted to say thank you because it's kind of like seeing the forest between the trees. It's been a process. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you, because this is going to benefit, both these projects are going to benefit Ashland for the next 50 years. It's going to make such an impact, and it's been a lot of hard work. So thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it. Go to town
Kathy,
meeting.
okay. Kathy Rooney, I do see your hand raised. I'm going to let the board finish, and then before I end up, I'll let you talk. Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of quick things. The Affordable Housing Trust, we have been going to CHAPA webinars. The first one was last week on the 17th. It was a wonderful webinar regarding the merits of 40B projects and what they mean to the cities and towns that these projects are going into. That was the first of 3 webinars that have been scheduled. The next one is actually tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock, and they'll be discussing the impact of inclusionary zoning, which is which is kind of important right now because that's what we're working with and dealing with within our town. I would like to thank Brandy for all her work that she has done with respect to the town meeting and follow up with the moderator and getting things set for the special town meeting and for the elections. And I would like to just make a quick comment regarding the Ashland Public Safety Building. We had our first of 2 public forums last Wednesday, the 13th. Michael provided residents with concrete, excuse the pun, construction figures for the project, and the information for the forum is on our public safety website as well as the town's website. And our second and last public forum is tomorrow, right before the special town meeting and election. It'll be Thursday, January 21st. It's a Zoom forum meeting, and it's the passcode and the meeting numbers are on our website. Town election is the 27th. We all know that, so I won't belabor that. But I do want to quickly make a comment, and it's a personal comment to the town of Ashland, who lost 2 favorite sons over the past 2 weeks. Mr. James Hanna, who served on several boards and committees in the town, as well as a revered town meeting attendee, who for many years was the mainstay of our town matters. Jamie, you will be sorely missed by myself and many others. And also Mr. Joseph Norton, who also served on many town boards and who recently worked on the restoration committee of the Ashland Town Hall and was the recipient of the 2006 Carl Rick Galani Citizens of the Year Award. I've had the extreme pleasure of knowing both those gentlemen throughout my life here growing up in town, and the loss of these 2 figures is going to be a great impact. They were both men that had a symbol of grace, humility, and deep faith, and may they both rest in eternal peace. And my prayers of condolences go to their respective families. And lastly, to our new president, Joseph Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris, the very best in healing our nation and reunifying all of us to be the country we once were, respected, reliable, and willing to compromise to accomplish the most difficult task for the betterment of all of us, no matter what our race, creed, or cultural backgrounds come from. I just want to say God bless America, and God bless the new hope springs eternal for us all. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Joe. Very well said.
Joe, thank you.
Thank you,
Rob?
Joe. Yeah, I just want to thank you, Joe, for mentioning Jim Hanna and Joe Norton. I hadn't heard about that. Great folks, and I'm sure we'll all miss Jim at upcoming town meeting. His wit and charm and presence, and he was a great worker for the town. So thank you for bringing that up. And you know, I'll just briefly, in terms of the inauguration and all the recent events, I think one thing that strikes me about the incoming administration that I think we all identify with is that these are people who believe in government and that competence in government is important. And that's really, I think, close to us because we all, you know, spend considerable effort trying to make government work at our own level. And, you know, I think that's one thing to note. That's a change about this administration. These are people who believe in government and believe in practicing it properly. And I think that's a great, and that's important, along with all the other things that people have talked about. But I think that's a one concrete thing that I think it directly connects us to them. We all know that doing things properly is not easy and that there is complexity and effort involved. For example, the great efforts that you folks have done in terms of the public safety building in the Mendez is a great example, as Brandy mentioned. I did want to just hit on a few other things. I know it's late, but I did want to say that the Upper Charles Trail Committee had a great meeting 2 weeks ago, and that the trolley book trail is moving along, and we're hoping to break ground soon. So that'll be, you know, a great event. You know, it's been a long time coming. I wanted to thank Jen for her appearance at the last committee meeting. I think it was very helpful, and hopefully we'll be able to maintain that progress. But it'll be a great change to actually see a trail going up that people can use. And just one note, I know we've talked about the Complete Streets folks before, but once that trail is completed and ends at Magunko, it'll be really important to have Complete Streets take that on and you know, work on it to connect it to town meeting, to town downtown, and you know, because otherwise it'll just end there. So
right. Good point.
And I did want to just remind folks, or just to bring up in terms of the Eversource pipeline, that we did get, and maybe, I don't know if Michael has anything to add, but the FSB a few weeks ago, Sharkey posted a deadline for the initial briefs by January 21st, which is tomorrow. So I'm presuming that, I know we filed our brief, and then a reply brief by January 28th. So, you know, I think we're drawing to the end of this process. And Michael, I think I'd asked, you know, is there anything, are we going to hear anything else from Brian as it looks like, it seems to me we're coming to the end of this process. So is there anything else going on that you know of? And can Brian maybe send us we're not meeting, so maybe he could send us an update to kind of fill us in with the latest as we, I think, approach the end of this process, is the way I'm interpreting it. You know,
Yeah,
it could be wrong.
Just briefly, Rob, I did have a conversation with Brian today, and some timelines got synced up for me in my head. The brief that we're filing tomorrow takes into account the feedback that the board provided at the last meeting when we met with Brian in terms of things to look at as part of the reply brief and everything. You know, we were going to see if our wetlands consultant had something to add. He certainly thinks that there's something there that we should take a look at. So that's being included. Then tomorrow we'll also see Eversource's brief, and then we will issue a reply.
Okay. And is there, yeah, so we could look at the briefs once they're filed, and then maybe give them some feedback, absent a meeting. I mean, does he interpret it the same way I do, that this is the 28th is pretty much the end of the process, or what's his thoughts on that?
Well, they're going to take it under advisement, obviously, with the EFSB, or the EFSB will take it under advisement.
Okay.
And they might ask for more information. We just don't know.
All right. Well, okay. And the last thing on that was, I'd asked him about the Chapter 97 land, which is kind of a more subtle kind of, you know, the state park is Chapter 97 land. If there's any new angles there, as because of the change in the land court ruling, does that change the status of 97? So I don't know if he had mentioned anything on that to you, or if there's anything.
He was going to look more into that, Rob.
Okay. So
But he thought it could potentially be a game changer.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow.
He's just, that happens in the legislative process. He's so concerned with that.
All right. Well, it's good to know. Okay. Well, thank you. All right. And the other, just a quick thing on the governor, you know, vetoed the climate bill. And I'm not going to belabor that, but there's, my understanding is that, and you know, sustainability is important for us. I think all of us know that. My understanding is that the Senate and the House are going to refile it. So I'm not, I can't say I'm up on all the details on that, but hopefully that'll, you know, we'll get going again on that. I did want to mention that. And finally, I've gone through a bit of a process of thinking, and I have decided to I will run for re-election in this come for a third term. I think we've been working very hard together as a group, and the town is moving in a positive direction. There's some things I want to see through the Eversource pipeline, the sustainability movement as a whole, getting to net zero. I think that's one of the most important things we're involved in. I see that, this town is, in terms of my efforts, this town is where, you really get into, actually, are we building net zero? And, we're building these net zero buildings or close to net zero buildings. So I think we've provided a great example for that. So, and of course, the Upper Charles Trail, Joe, I couldn't leave that without it being done. But,
I don't know that it's going to be done in 3 years either,
that's
Rob.
true. Yes, I think I agree with you on that one. Yeah.
We almost got away with it.
Yeah. And, and transportation policy is another one of my interests. So, I appreciate working with you folks, and I am going to be running for re-election. So we'll see.
Good news.
Are you asking us to vote?
Back in.
Are you asking us to vote to support your?
Yeah. Could I get a quick resolution? Yeah. I don't know if that'd be good or bad.
We'll do a joint resolution, Rob. Should we do that? Because I'm also running. Anyway.
Yes.
Before we go, Kathy Rooney has been hanging in there. She has her hand raised. Kathy, if it's something quick, go ahead and unmute yourself and go.
I don't know if it's quick. So I'm concerned because if you couldn't make the beginning of the meeting when it says citizens participation, then there's no way for citizens to participate. Your agenda is jam-packed today with things that the public might have wanted to discuss. So I have a page of comments about the mill building. So I guess I'll hold those off.
Yeah, hold those because of what was else on our agenda. We are going to ask, we're going to do something separate for that.
I'm totally concerned about the fact that it's getting this far along in the discussion and there's not a chance in these meetings for the public to have participation, because the more participation we get from people in town, the better, the more brain power we'll have behind it, the more creativity, and we'll end up with a better product, even though it might be painful and long for some of the meetings. So I have a couple of other questions. And this is actually on the ballot for the two buildings.
Okay.
So the school building seems to have all the costs associated with it. And then it says, which will have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children for at least 50 years. I'm like, okay, great. For the amount of money we're paying for that, that's what I want to see. But the public safety building doesn't say the same thing. Based on what I saw about it, I would think that it also is going to have the same expected longevity. So I'm kind of curious why it's not in there. And then I'm curious because there's a difference again between the public safety and the school building, and one of them doesn't have the costs reiterated the same way as the other. So it says for the public safety, it goes new public safety building and related facilities, including site work, and for the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto. Why does that get called out for question 1, but not for question 2?
I'm going to let Michael go into detail, but my understanding is both of these questions have been vetted through town council, and they are worded in the way that we have to word them. I know it's very specific from the MSBA for the school building project. I would think there's something similar for the public safety, but Michael, if you could
yeah, the specificity,
elaborate.
The MSBA requires very, very, very specific language. It requires the appropriation of the full amount, even though we do know that we're going to get a reimbursement from the school building authority for that. So that's the reason the way the MSBA, the question 2 is worded the way it is. And question 1 has all the controlling pieces that you need to have in a town meeting warrant article. So I can tell you, Kathy, we've talked about, you know, the useful life of the building to be 50 years plus for this. It's just not necessarily in the warrant article or the motion.
Does that answer your questions?
It answers it, but I'm sorry that it's phrased that way, because I would have said put it in. If you put it in for one, put it in for the other. Because then it says to people, it reminds them every single time that, okay, we're going to spend a lot on these buildings, but they're going to last, which is exactly, if you do that kind of work at your house, you want it to last. You don't want to be doing the same work again and again and again. You want it to be done. You want to be thinking about it, especially because when you have to do it again, you're a lot older and, you know, it makes you cranky. You have to redo it. So, you know, I just look at this and I go, how come it doesn't say that? And, you know, town council aside and all the other arcane stuff that goes on with legalese, I had the question, so I asked him.
Okay.
But I'm highly concerned about that mill building, and I'm just going to reiterate it that I think people are going to be concerned about the process. I'm certainly concerned about how the process is unfolding right now, and I think that many meetings need to happen with as much participation as possible, or it's just going to blow up.
Okay, thank you for that feedback. And we are going to be looking at doing more public engagement for that project.
Great, thank you.
You are very welcome. Thanks for hanging in there.
Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin.
And real quick before I ask for a motion, I too would like to extend my condolences to Jimmy Hanna's family and Joseph Norton's family. Jimmy Hanna is one of the reasons I'm sitting here as a select board member. I remember he came to me and he's like, "You did good on school committee. Do you want to become a member of the Board of Selectmen?" at the time. So I owe a lot to him. And also I think we all as a community owe a lot to Jimmy and what he's done for us. So again, condolences to his family and to Joseph Norton's family. I'm going to be attending some of the events for the MMA that's happening tomorrow and Friday. Not quite as thorough workshops as I had hoped, but we'll see what we sit in on and see what happens. The lieutenant governor will be there tomorrow morning and the governor will be there Friday afternoon if you're signed up. Again, as has been said, I hope to see people at town meeting in support of these buildings. And then again, at the ballot, you know, you do what you need to, but a lot of hard work and a lot of thought has been put into these buildings, even though that's being questioned by people. You know, it's not like we decided in the summer to move these projects forward. We've been working on these for many years, and it's unfortunate the timing in regards to COVID and people's pocketbooks and jobs and things like that. And we are not looking to, you know, drive people out of their homes. But, you know, sometimes things just are moving forward, even if other things are not going the way you had hoped. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for those who have watched. If I can get a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Roll call vote out. Shear.
Aye.
Mitchell.
Aye.
Mignani.
Aye.
Kinsman.
Aye.
And Greaves, aye. That passes 5-0. Susan, thank you for your support. Jen, thank you for yours. And Michael, thank you for yours. To everyone, be safe. Wear a mask, use your hand sanitizer, and we look forward to seeing you Saturday and at the polls. Have a great night. The Selectmen meeting for January 20th is complete. Good night, everybody.
everybody.
And thank you.
Stay
Thank you,
healthy.
everyone.
See you tomorrow.